Chapter 1071. You. Li Mingyu, are you sure you're going to go against me? Yin Kuoshan's expression changed immediately. Li Mingyu snorted and said nonchalantly, "So what if I go against you? What are you going to do now? Are you going to come and steal people? Do you really think your Yin family is still the Yin family of the past? Just one word and the army will come?" You. Yin Kuoshan didn't have heart disease. He was so angry that he was about to have a heart attack. But Li Mingyu didn't care at all. He waved his hand, send the guest out. Even without Li Mingyu sending him out, Yin Kuoshan didn't want to stay anymore. Yin Kuoshan snorted and left. Yin Luo lowered her head and ran out too. Li Mingyu raised his eyebrows and said to Lin Che, "Let's go in and see what's fun." Yin Kuoshan opened the door. After walking in, he saw Yin Luo following. He really didn't like Yin Luo more and more. He slammed the door, and Yin Luo jumped in fright. "Dad, what are you doing?" Yin Luo said. Yin Kuoshan said, "Useless thing." Yin Luo looked wronged. She was embarrassed just now. After all, she was the one who was humiliated in front of everyone. What's wrong with her face? Li Mingyu must be blind. Yin Kuoshan said, "If you had half of Lin Che's ability, our Yin family wouldn't have fallen to this state." Yin Luo's heart hurt even more when she heard this. What about Lin Che? What about me? What's so good about her? Other than seducing people, how can she compare to me? You still have the cheek to say that. Yin Kuoshan said, "You still have the cheek to say how can she compare to you? She can't compare to you in any way. Instead, she's being protected like this. Sigh, all manners of upbringing are useless. You still have to rely on your face. You usually ignore people. Great, now no one is paying attention to you. Look at you, you really aren't as good-looking as Lin Che. Sigh, it's useless to say anything. You might as well go get plastic surgery." Yin Kuoshan said it out of anger, but in Yin Luo's ears, it was very piercing. She stomped her feet in anger. Looking at Yin Kuoshan, she couldn't say what she wanted to say and ran out. Yu Minmin hid in a corner. She ate, not daring to go out and see anyone. She felt that her face and body were extremely dirty, but she still hid there, not daring to take a step out. There were beggars everywhere. The stench of the beggar next to her made her feel nauseous, but she had to endure it. She had no other choice. She had to stay in a quiet place and wait for the situation to die down. Then, she would find a way to save them. After all, this was M Nation, not C Nation. There were people from the Gu family everywhere. Yu Minmin didn't dare to go out for a few days. The food she ate was given to her by other beggars who pitied her. Expired bread, expired water, salted vegetables, sausages, and leftover takeout food. She wouldn't refuse them. She had to eat to survive. Only by surviving could she see her family, her lover, and Gu Jingming again. Her belly was very big, so she pretended to be unable to move and sat there without moving. Everyone asked her. Seeing that her clothes weren't that dirty, they wondered where she had come from. Yu Minmin said that she had lost her memory. She was sold out by her family. They said that she was crazy and sold her to someone as a concubine. That was why she escaped with a big belly and never wanted to go back. Everyone felt even more sorry for her when they heard that. On the other side of her was a mother with 2 children. This was where the beggars gathered. It was a place where real beggars would stay, not where the swindlers gathered. The people here were very pitiful. Some of them had their homes taken over and had nowhere to go. Some of them had been bullied and had nowhere to go. Some of them had their families killed and didn't want to go back. They were homeless and had lost their reputation because of the swindlers. It was very difficult for them to ask for anything. The mother said, "When we go out, the most we ask for is food. We don't dare to ask for money. If we ask for money, they will think that we are scammers. They even think that I kidnapped and sold my 2 children." Yu Minmin said, "They are afraid of being swindled." Even she would think the same way when she saw the beggars. She sighed and said, "I know and I understand. If it weren't for the fact that my kidneys aren't good, I would have gone out to work instead of begging here. It's a pity." Yu Minmin said, "Doesn't the American government care about this? Don't you have any welfare benefits?" She shook her head. "They don't care about us. Country M can't do that. They say that the president has just gained some power and is busy developing the economy. He won't care about us at all. Yu Minmin looked at her sympathetically. She felt that country C was much better than here. At least what she saw in Glass Palace was a good policy. The welfare system that Gu Jingming and his team created benefited all the people. At least everyone could eat, and they didn't have to go out to beg. But along the way, she realized that there were many beggars here. Moreover, there were many who really didn't have the ability to survive. It wasn't that their bodies were weak, but they were infected with very serious diseases. They could die at any time, so they didn't work. They had to eat and live as long as they could. Yu Minmin said, "If you were in Country C, you could go to the government to get relief." "Country C isn't that good," she said. "I heard that such a big country is even harder to manage." "How can that be? Their president is a good person." Yu Minmin thought that Gu Jingming was a good president. He sympathized with these people and loved his people. "Sai, these are all lies. You don't even know him. How do you know that he's a good person? I think these people are all very bad." "Sai, they won't care about our lives." Yu Minmin said, "No, he's really a good person. You say it as if you know him. You'll know when you see him in person. But people like us will never see the president in this lifetime." However, there were also people who came to exploit these people who were at the end of their lives. While Yu Minmin was lying down, a few people suddenly walked in and kicked a child beside her. "Hey, this girl is still a boy. Let me see." They were here to find a girl. If they found a girl who was not bad, they would sell her and bring in customers. The mother beside her was a little girl. She was afraid that people would find out, so she shaved her child's hair and blackened her face so that she could raise her as a boy. Now that they saw people coming, the three of them trembled with fear. The few people came in front of them in an instant. They first pulled the little boy away. Then they pulled the little girl away. Seeing that they were all boys, they snorted. "How unlucky. Why haven't there been any girls recently?" Just then, they stepped on the little girl's chest. The little girl cried out in pain. Chapter 1072. Ouch. He didn't think much of it first, but when he saw the girl, he suddenly had an idea. "Sigh, it hurts when I touch my chest." He went up to the girl and pulled her up. "Ah." The girl screamed again. The man's eyes lit up when he saw that it was indeed a girl. "Ah, I thought there weren't any girls here anymore. It turns out that you're smart and know how to hide us. Really, we'll bring your child to enjoy life. You're too selfish to hide us like this." The girl's mother hurriedly got up to grab the child. "Don't do this, don't do this. She's still so young. She's going to starve to death here. I'm taking her to eat and drink, but you're still blocking her. What kind of mother are you?" The man kicked the girl's mother away. The girl screamed, but the people around her were already numb. Yu Minmin felt very sad. She was angry that they didn't fight. If they weren't so weak and dared to fight together, perhaps these people wouldn't be so arrogant. But they didn't. Yu Minmin stood up. "What are you doing?" The few of them looked over and saw that there was a pregnant woman. With a closer look, he felt that this woman's skin was soft and tender. She looked different from the dirty people around her. "Ah, new one. It's a pity that she's pregnant, but it's okay. I heard that pregnant women want to do forbidden things." They moved towards Yu Minmin one by one. Yu Minmin took a step back. "People are made of flesh. We're all the same. Aren't you afraid that you'll go to hell one day?" The few of them snorted and continued to move forward. The knives in their hands looked very scary. "Go to hell? Then I'll bring you to heaven before going to hell," the man said evilly. He suddenly pounced on Yu Minmin. Women were weak, but mothers were tough. Yu Minmin didn't think that she was that strong. But now that she was on the verge of death, she thought of the child in her stomach and wouldn't give in so easily. She blocked the man in front of her. No matter how strong she was still pushed to the ground. In a moment of desperation, Yu Minmin pressed down on his arm and snatched the thing from his hand without any hesitation. While the man was still in a daze, the sharp knife had already directly stabbed into his heart. The man spat out foam from his mouth. The rest of the people panicked. "Ah, murder, murder." A few men came over and pulled the man away, only to see that the man had already fallen to the ground, twitched a few times, and lost consciousness. He was completely dead. Blood flowed all over the floor. Everyone was in a panic. Yu Minmin was lifted up by a few people. Call the police. Call the police. Send her to the police station. Murderer. Yu Minmin didn't know why he had killed someone. This was the first time she had killed someone. She was so shocked and panicked that she didn't think of anything before she was sent to the police station. The people from the police station were also indifferent. It was really difficult to deal with this kind of beggar crime. Those beggars not only affected the city's appearance, but also caused trouble at every turn. It was really disgusting. Therefore, the police treated Yu Minmin poorly. How did you kill them? It was self-defense, Yu Minmin said. I'm asking you how you killed them. Tell me everything. I was. Self-defense, Yu Minmin said. Hey, what are you talking to me about? I asked you to speak properly. The police slammed the table. Yu Minmin said, they have done all kinds of evil. Instead of arresting them, you arrested me? The police snorted and didn't waste any more time talking to Yu Minmin. He said directly, get her inside. Yu Minmin's lower body was rudely grabbed. Let go of me. How can you be so rude to people? I'm pregnant, Yu Minmin said. I don't even have an account. How can I be polite to you? A bunch of filthy trash hiding in the sewers like rats. You're so dirty. Do you think I want to touch you? The police said as he pushed Yu Minmin into the detention room. Inside, there were people of all shapes and sizes sitting, and there were many of them. Being stared at by them, Yu Minmin had no choice but to find a seat and sit down. She had been struggling for a long time, so she was exhausted. She thought sadly, now that I'm in the police station, I don't know if the people outside can find me. What if Gu Jingming has already sent someone to look for me? At that moment, Gu Jingming had indeed arrived in M Nation. After arriving, Gu Jingming followed the clues he found in Lapis Lazuli Palace and looked for Yu Minmin first. However, because he didn't know who his opponent was, it was like looking for a needle in a haystack. Gu Jingming went straight to the black market and asked someone to help him investigate. Recently, there had been no abnormalities in M Nation. Did a group of people suddenly disappear to do big business? Did anyone suddenly become rich? If there was any such news, he would be informed. There was not much news. According to the black market, some people did accept big business, but they didn't say anything. However, those people didn't return. They hadn't returned until now. When Gu Jingming heard this news, he went straight to look for those people. When he arrived, he found that they were all gone. However, he received another news. They were all gone because they messed up. It was said that they all ran away. They were worried that they would be retaliated against. So, they left M Nation. Maybe Yu Minmin had run away? Or was she dead? Gu Jingming didn't dare to think about it. He could only continue to investigate. He asked the people in the black market. If one wanted to hide here, there was no place to hide without money or people. They said that in M Nation, some beggars and homeless people would hide in the sewers. Gu Jingming immediately went down to look for them. There were many kinds of beggars in M Nation, but C Nation was different. C Nation didn't have so many beggars. Although there were many poor people, they didn't become beggars. Gu Jingming shook his head secretly. As the president of a country, he really couldn't turn a blind eye to these things. But at this moment, he just wanted to find Yu Minmin first. When he arrived at the sewers again, after entering, he saw a pool of blood on the ground. There was no one inside. He walked over curiously and squatted down to take a look. Based on his experience, it was human blood. As he was looking, he heard a sound next to him. Who is it? Gu Jingming asked in a low voice. The person inside came out, trembling. No, we have nothing. Don't hit us. This person's death has nothing to do with us. It's the one with the big belly who killed him. Chapter 1073. A child crawled out. A pregnant child? Gu Jingming narrowed his eyes and took out a large banknote from his pocket. He looked at the child and said, "Tell me what happened, and this is yours." The child stared at the banknote with his eyes wide open. He hurriedly recounted everything that had happened, regardless of how big or small it was. At the police station, Yu Minmin leaned against the wall and felt her stomach ache. She called out softly, "Is there anyone?" But the people around her were already asleep. They couldn't be bothered with the pregnant woman in the corner. She sat on the ground and felt cold. Her stomach was cold, her feet were cold, and so was her body. It was as if she was in an ice cave. The feeling of her stomach sinking made her feel even more uncomfortable. 7 months. The child was 7 months old. It was impossible for her to feel like she was sinking at this moment. Wasn't that something that only happened during childbirth? She quickly got up and wondered if it was because she wanted to go to the toilet. But just as she stood up, she felt a pain in her stomach. Is there anyone? Is there anyone? My stomach hurts. I want to go to the hospital. She crawled to the metal bars with difficulty and shouted while holding on to them. Hey, can't you let me sleep? Someone scolded angrily. Yeah, if you want to make a fuss, do in the day. What's the point of making a fuss now? Yu Minmin's stomach hurt. She had no time to care about these cold voices. Come and help me. There's something wrong with my child. Come. Just then, a police officer walked over with sleepy eyes. He patted the metal bars in front of her and said, What are you doing? Why are you making such a fuss? Yu Minmin said, Officer, my stomach hurts. Help me. There's something wrong with my stomach. The police officer snorted and said, Forget it. You keep saying that you're pregnant and that you've lost your child several times a year. What's wrong with that? You going to give birth? Then give birth inside. Who's stopping you? You. Yu Minmin's stomach suddenly hurt. She almost fainted. She leaned against the metal bars and panted. But the people around her ignored her. She could only hold onto the metal bars in front of her tightly. She felt a throbbing pain in her stomach. Oh my God, someone save me. She felt that she was really going to die. However, it didn't matter if she died. She wanted her child to live well. Why did he have to torture her at this time? Why didn't he let her give birth to the child? She screamed. That heart-wrenching voice really made the people around her unable to bear it any longer. No way. Is this person really going to give birth? Look at that big belly. Maybe. Then what should we do? The police don't care. Io, you look like you're suffering. What do you mean by suffering? Serves you right. You're a beggar, yet you're still hooking up with others. Who knows which beggar's child she's pregnant with in the sewers? Everyone spoke one after another, but no one actually took action. Yu Minmin's head was dizzy from the pain, and he could no longer pay attention to their words. At this moment that the man who rushed into the police station grabbed a police officer. Was there a pregnant woman sent in last night? Hey, who are you? The policeman was shocked by the tall man in front of him. For a moment, looking at the man with scarlet murderous eyes, his heart stopped for a moment. As if he was subdued by a strong force, his voice was no longer as arrogant as ordinary people. I'm asking you, did you bring a pregnant woman in? Ah, the beggar murderer you're talking about? The policeman said. He frowned. Not a beggar, nor a murderer. The policeman originally wanted to refute, but when he saw the thick haze in his eyes, he felt as if a chill had enveloped him, and the words that he wanted to say were suddenly stuck in his throat. He couldn't say anything. Where is she? Gu Jingming directly grabbed the policeman's clothes as if he was carrying a little rabbit and dragged him in. Hey, let go of me. What are you doing? The policeman was very unwilling to be dragged in, but he couldn't help but follow him. After Gu Jingming entered, he was about to ask again when he suddenly heard a scream. Ah, that shrill voice suddenly made people's hearts ache. Gu Jingming's eyes moved. He was already mumbling, Min Min. Then, he threw the policeman down and ran inside without stopping. Hey, what are you doing? You can't go in, you. Gu Jingming rushed in. Inside, Yu Min Min was lying on the ground, and there was a pool of blood below her. It was shocking. Gu Jingming couldn't care about anything else, and immediately took a step forward. Min Min, Min Min. Yu Min Min had already lost her mind. She squinted her eyes and grabbed the side of her body. Her fingers were red and blue because she used too much force. When she saw the person in front of her, she felt that she must be hallucinating. Jingming, I'm going to die. Gu Jingming held her hand. Don't talk nonsense. You won't die, you won't die. No, I must be dying. That's why I saw you. It's okay. It's worth it if I can see you again before I die. But my child, my child. Gu Jingming saw the pool of blood, and his eyes turned cold. He raised his head and shouted, Where are you? Open the door. Open the door. Can't you see what's going on inside? The police officer, who was watching from behind, was shocked by the scene in front of him. Who knew that this person was really going to give birth here? The police officer was still in a daze and didn't know what to do. Gu Jingming's eyes became fierce. He pulled the police officer over, and a gun was pressed against the police officer's head. "Open the door. Do you hear me?" "Ah!" The police officer screamed in fear. Inside, the people were panicking and looking at the crazy man, not knowing what to do. The police officer quickly opened the door with trembling hands. Gu Jingming pushed the police officer away and hugged Yu Min, holding her cold body. Gu Jingming gritted his teeth. The veins by his ears kept twitching, which made his face look even more hideous. I'm coming. Min, don't be afraid. I'll take you and the child away in a while." Yu Min trembled and felt pain in her body again. "Ah, it hurts." She screamed again. Gu Jingming picked her up and walked out of the room. "Ah, he was holding a gun just now. Who is this person? How dare he? Who the hell is he? How dare he?" The people inside screamed. The police officer was so scared that he almost wet his pants. It was only then that he remembered and quickly got up to press the bell. "Help! Someone is attacking the police. Someone is trying to break the prison." Meanwhile, Gu Jingming had already rushed out with Yu Min in his arms. Chapter 1074. In the hospital, Gu Jingming was carrying a woman who was still bleeding. The people around him screamed and ran away. Doctor, there's something wrong with my wife. Hurry up and save her." Gu Jingming screamed and ran straight to the emergency room. Seeing this, the doctor dropped his things and hurried over. He was an experienced doctor in the emergency room. He didn't care who it was and put the patient on the bed. "What's going on?" "She looks like she's going to give birth. There's a lot of blood. Let's do a blood test to see what her blood type is. Then do an ultrasound and see if there are any other injuries. Oh my God, the fetus is in an abnormal position. Arrange for a C-section. There's too much blood. Hurry up and give her a blood transfusion." The emergency room was in a mess. Gu Jingming just stood there and held Yu Min's hand tightly. It's okay. Min, I'm here." Gu Jingming blamed himself. He was scared and upset. However, there was only one thought in his mind. Min had to live. As long as she was fine, he didn't mind doing anything. But now, Min's appearance made him think of death. He didn't feel good. He kept looking down at Yu Min and didn't pay attention to anything else. The doctor pushed him into the emergency room. She looked at Gu Jingming and said, "Sir, your wife is going to have an operation. Please wait outside." "No, I want to follow her." Gu Jingming held her hand stubbornly and wouldn't let go. "No, sir, you better go to one side. It'll be good for your wife's delivery. This is a very important moment." Gu Jingming suddenly raised his head and said, "No, I have to stay by her side." The nurse and the doctor were shocked. However, there were still benefits to being handsome. Looking at his handsome face, everyone could tell that he should have been an extremely gentlemanly man in the past. His angular cheeks were now filled with a crazed stubbornness, and when he looked at his wife, he was filled with deep affection, causing people to feel extremely envious of the woman lying down. He must have loved her very much to be so sad that he almost went crazy. Most men would have been scared out of their wits when they saw so much blood, their wife in such a state, and their child still in danger. Some men were even worse. They would directly ask if their child could be saved or not. The people who asked were especially annoyed. They would bring a group of family members to stop them and make a scene, making it impossible for them to work. However, he stubbornly held onto his wife's hand and refused to let go. He held on her hand tightly and kept saying, I'm here. A man like this really made people's hearts ache. They looked at each other and said, why don't we forget it and let him follow us in? It was still uncertain whether this woman could survive. If he followed her in, he might be able to see her for the last time. They hurriedly let the man put on a sterile gown and followed him into the operating room in the emergency room. In less than 10 minutes, with a loud cry, the child was separated from the mother's body. Because the child was born prematurely, it was not big. However, compared to other premature children, it was much bigger. It was more than 2 kilograms. Most 7-month-old children were more than 3 kilograms. It was not bad for this one to be more than 2 kilograms. A few people put the child into the incubator and checked on the child's body. The others were still there to save the mother. A few bags of blood had been transfused. With great difficulty, The heartbeat and blood pressure had stabilized. After suturing, the doctors were also exhausted. When they looked at the man again, they saw that he was lying on the operating table, looking at his wife's face. He was still touching her face pitifully. Even though he had been standing for 2 hours and must have been exhausted, he still looked at his wife with such tenderness. The people at the scene were so touched. They looked at him as if they could not bear to disturb him. The attending doctor walked over and patted him gently. "Sir, your wife's life has been saved. Although she's still unconscious, that's because she's lost too much blood. She'll recover after this." Gu Jingming raised his head. His eyes were bloodshot. "Thank you. You're welcome. The child is still being examined. It's a girl. You can come and take a look." "All right. I will go and take a look later." At this moment, the voices of the police came from outside. A few nurses ran in and shouted, "What should we do?" They said that the pregnant woman we just saved is a murderer. Everyone was shocked. It couldn't be. Was it true? At this moment, behind them, Gu Jingzi stood up and said calmly, "She is my wife. She is not a murderer." His firm and unwavering voice stunned a few of them. They turned around and looked at Gu Jingming. His calmness seemed to have an irresistible, domineering aura. It made them feel that the light in the entire room was not as attractive as the light on his body. They couldn't help but believe whatever he said, as if it was an imperial edict or a law. At this moment, the police came in. When they saw Gu Jingming, they immediately said, "Hey, isn't this the one who broke out of the prison?" Gu Jingming shook his body and said, "I will go with you. My wife has just finished her operation. She can't move at all. You can send someone to keep an eye on her." Everyone saw that the floor was covered in blood. The woman was still lying there with tubes inserted into her body. How could they move? They could only nod and ask the people to keep an eye on her. After all, she was a murderer. Then they brought Gu Jingming back. At the police station, everyone looked at Gu Jingming. He was neither arrogant nor impatient. He didn't look like he had been arrested at all. Instead, it was as if he was here for an inspection. He walked in step by step. Although the police officers behind him were angry, they couldn't suppress his imposing manner. No matter how they stood beside him, they felt like they were his lackeys. They could only send him into the interrogation room first and provoke him verbally. You'll suffer in a while. How dare you come here and break into our prison? You really don't want to live anymore. How dare you bring a gun? Do you want to die?" Gu Jingming didn't care about him. He just pulled out a chair and sat down. When the interrogator came in, he saw him sitting upright. He walked over suspiciously and pulled out the chair. He felt that he was the one being interrogated. "What's your name? Why didn't you bring your ID card?" he asked. "Gu Jingming. I don't have my ID card. I am from country C," he said. "Ah, you say you are from country C, so you are from country C. I suspect that you are an illegal immigrant." He didn't associate Gu Jingming's name with the president of country C. He just sat there and wrote something. When he wrote Gu Jingming's name, he paused. Why did it sound so familiar? Chapter 1075. Before he could think of anything else, Gu Jingming said, "Why don't you contact the embassy of country C to confirm my identity?" Who are you? Just give me your name and I can confirm it. You don't even have an ID. Don't waste time here. Gu Jingming said indifferently. Just tell them my name and they will know. Who do you think you are? Why do you want me to go to the embassy? If they ask you something, answer it. If they don't ask, don't say it. This is the police station. Do you think it's your home? So this is how the police station of Country M does things, he said. What does the police station of Country M have to do with you? This is how we do things. Can ordinary people like you understand this kind of business? The police officer looked up at him. The name was familiar, and the person was so strange. He even dared to break into a prison with a gun. Could he be a wanted criminal? Could he be a very powerful wanted criminal? The police officer quickly packed up his things. The more he looked, the more he felt that this person looked familiar. Could he really be a wanted criminal? He quickly went out and said, "Go and contact the embassy of country C and send this name." He didn't dare to stay in the same room with this person. He was afraid that he was really a vicious wanted criminal and would kill him. He shouted at Gu Jingming, "I'll deal with you later." Gu Jingming said, "You can still be happy for a while." The police officer didn't understand what he meant. He turned around and scolded. He doesn't look like a good person. Humph, I'll teach him a lesson later. However, after a while, the embassy was shocked when they heard the news. 15 minutes later, the police station suddenly called them. You just arrested a person called Gu Jingming? Ah, yes. Which branch is this? The news spread so fast. Is he famous? The police officer thought it was a call from the branch. This is the headquarters. Ah, take care of him. Yes, yes, yes. We will. He really thought that there was a big case and was anxious to move the person to the special prison inside. However, at this moment, the sound of cars came from outside. In a short while, the police station was surrounded by cars. Wow, who are they arresting? What a big scene. Are they arresting the wanted criminal just now? It doesn't look like it. It looks very luxurious. However, at this moment, the person who alighted from the car shocked everyone. A group of people from the presidential palace came down, opened the car door, and welcomed the president. While everyone was in a daze, they realized that the president of the M Nation had suddenly come to a small police station. Everyone hurriedly stood still and saluted. After the president of M Nation came down, he walked in quickly without saying a word. It didn't take long for them to arrive inside. Where is he? The Secretary General asked a police officer. The police officer said, Are you talking about the wanted criminal just now? The Secretary General's eyes turned sharp. What fugitive? Do you want to die? He tugged at the policeman's collar and pushed him aside. Then he walked in and found the interrogation room inside. When he didn't see anyone, he said angrily, Where is she? Where did you take her? Here, please follow me. Someone came to take Gu Jingming away. Gu Jingming was covered in blood, but was still sitting there. President Gu, the Secretary General hurriedly said, I heard the news, and our president is here in a hurry. He turned around and saw the president walking in. President Gu, you didn't tell us that you came to the M Nation. Your brother, Mr. Gu, has already told us. This way, please. After tidying up, the two presidents sat down in the small police station to talk. I'm really sorry that you've suffered and almost lost your life here. It's also our negligence that the people outside don't know your identity and let you suffer here. Gu Jingming said, It's nothing, but my wife is still in the hospital. I hope that I can pick her up and let her rest for a while. That's what we should do. Please come quickly. We'll prepare it for you immediately. The M Nation's president was going to pick him up and bring him back to the presidential palace. After he went out, the people from the police station were still waiting outside. Gu Jingze was ready to go out. The president led the way in front, and the Secretary General followed behind. Many pairs of eyes were staring at this place, thinking that the president's arrival was simply amazing. However, at this moment, Gu Jingming suddenly thought of something and said to the M Nation's president, Please wait a moment. Then, Gu Jingming turned around and looked at the man who was hiding at the back, the man who had just interrogated him. He walked over, and the man seemed to have lost his soul. Gu Jingming's expression was the same, but it was shocking. Gu Jingming tugged at his collar, and the man trembled even more. He said carefully, I'm sorry. I really didn't know that you were the president of the C Nation. Really, if I had known, I would have informed the higher-ups and asked them to wait for you. I wouldn't have let you suffer here. He would never have thought that he would encounter such a thing. Otherwise, he would never have dared to treat the president like this. Moreover, he was the powerful president of the C Nation. Gu Jingming said, I don't need an apology, but about my wife. Thinking of the pregnant woman, they broke out in cold sweat. No one had thought that a pregnant woman would be the president's wife and the child in her belly would be the president's child. However, they had ignored her and almost let her die here. We didn't know. We really didn't know. Gu Jingming narrowed his eyes. She needs an official apology, and you need to pay the price for what your family has done. Even if they were really murderers, they should have the most basic rights. That was the right to life. They had disregarded life and almost let a person die in their police station. How could they do that? Everyone was shocked. For a moment, they felt that they were doomed. Gu Jingming turned around and looked at them indifferently. But this glance was enough to make them feel a murderous aura. Gu Jingming didn't say anything else. He turned around and said to them, The people here have violated the law. please punish them according to the law. Of course, he wouldn't control the people in the other country's president's family. So, he only said a few words. But it was enough. The M Nation's president's eyes turned cold. Don't worry. We will definitely give you an explanation for this. Gu Jingze had helped him stabilize his position as the president of the M Nation and chased away the Yun family. So, he had maintained a good relationship with Gu Jingze. This time, he would definitely help Gu Jingming for Gu Jingze's sake. He wouldn't add insult to injury and seek benefits for the M Nation. Otherwise, with Gu Jingming's status, he would be able to achieve great things. Chapter 1076. The president of Country M knew that Gu Jingze was still behind them. If he dared to touch Gu Jingming, the Gu family would not forgive Country M, so he had to treat Gu Jingming well. In the hospital, Yu Minmin woke up leisurely. She saw that she had been placed in an intact hospital. There were nurses walking around her. She seemed to be in a single room. The equipment was comprehensive and everything was neat. It was not an ordinary hospital. Yu Minmin's throat was dry. When she looked up, a nurse found her. "Ah, madam, you're awake." Everyone quickly surrounded Yu Minmin and examined her one by one. "Is your stomach uncomfortable? Is your throat uncomfortable? Do you recognize these numbers?" Yu Minmin answered them one by one, but she still asked blankly, "Where is this?" "Madam, this is the National Security Hospital. Mr. President Gu asked us to place you here. Your husband, President Gu of Country M, is outside. We have informed him. Also, the child is in the pediatrics department. Because of the premature birth, he needs to undergo other examinations and observations. You may only see the child when your body is slightly better." "Child." "Ah, yes, child." That Yu Minmin's eyes lit up. Just then, Gu Jingming walked in first. His eyes were shining. He walked over and held her hand. "Minmin, it's okay. You're fine now." Yu Minmin only felt like she was really home when she was in his arms. Wherever he was, no matter where it was, it would feel like home. She hugged him and lay in his arms. Her eyes were wet, and she almost choked up. "Child, our child. I'm sorry, I didn't protect the child well." Yu Minmin said. "Silly, why are you saying sorry? You protected him well. The child is fine." He looked at Yu Minmin, his heart aching. "I didn't protect you and your mother." Yu Minmin bit her lower lip and looked at him. "Is the child really fine? Can I see the child?" "Of course." Gu Jingming ordered. "Push the child over." "Yes, sir." A while later, the incubator was pushed over. The child was lying inside. He looked much, much smaller than an ordinary child. Especially since Yu Minmin had never seen a newborn baby, he felt that the baby was very, very small, so small that it made his heart ache. Yu Minmin burst into tears and shouted, "Baby, baby, mommy has harmed you. You're so young, yet you came out so early." Gu Jing said, "It doesn't matter. She just wants to see her mother as soon as possible. Moreover, with the current medical technology, she can live well for 6 months. She's fine now. The doctor has checked her, and she's in good condition. She'll grow up soon." Yu Minmin looked at him with tears hanging on her eyelashes. He lowered his head and kissed away her tears. "Don't cry. My heart hurts so much when you cry." Yu Minmin stopped crying and smiled. She looked at him and said, "Then I wasn't dreaming. You really came?" "Yeah, you're not dreaming," Gu Jing said. Yu Minmin just felt strange. He was wearing different clothes than usual, and there was no Linda or anyone else beside him. Yu Minmin said, "Why did you come by yourself? Where's Linda?" Gu Jing said, "All right, we'll talk about this later. I've already informed Jingze, and he's sent someone to pick us up. Don't worry." He even informed Gu Jingze about what was going on. Gu Jingming didn't say anything else. He just asked someone to give Yu Minmin a full checkup. Later on, the doctors and nurses thought that the president and his wife were so sweet. The president of Country C was so nice to his wife. He had come in such a hurry and comforted her so carefully. They heard that he had come alone to save his wife. Such a good man. Was hard to come by in 100 years. Everyone looked at Gu Jingming and couldn't help but be infatuated with him. But Gu Jingming didn't look at anyone. After regaining her, his eyes were fixed on Yu Minmin, as if he was afraid that she would disappear from his sight again. Yu Minmin told Gu Jingming about what had happened the past few days. Gu Jingming's heart ached even more. Yu Minmin had actually suffered so much. Yu Minmin said, "I even killed someone." Gu Jingming, is this a crime? Gu Jingming shook his head. They deserved it. They were the worst side of human nature. They didn't even let children off and wanted to sell them for money. They didn't even let pregnant women off. They only deserved to go to hell. You dirtied your hands by killing them. It was too good for them. Yu Minmin leaned on him and rested. Gu Jingming had already ordered his men to deal with this matter. Not long after, outside, there were already people looking for the places where the beggars in Country M lived. The president of Country M also ordered to start helping the beggars in Country M and find a place for them to stay. At the same time, they would punish the evil people who made money from the beggars. In an instant, the entire capital of Country M started looking for beggars. Meanwhile, in the sewer, when a family of 3 was sitting there, they saw someone barging in. They were so scared that they hugged each other tightly and shouted, "Don't catch my daughter. Don't catch her. Catch me if you want. I'll do anything you want. Stop crying. What are you screaming about? We're not here to catch you. We were sent by the government to help the beggars." Helping the beggars, since when did Country M become so humane? The few of them looked at them blankly. They didn't believe it at first. However, when they saw a few people in uniform come over to help them pack up their belongings and bring them out with kind words, they finally believed it. They were indeed being helped. The woman brought the 2 children out. While she was feeling happy and gratified, she couldn't help but think about that day. That day, before the pregnant woman killed the beggars, she talked about the president of Country C and their policies. She said that they wouldn't treat the beggars like that and that they would have a rescue organization. She said that the president of Country C was a very good person. Could it be because of her? However, how could they be so lucky to meet such a big shot who could change the situation? However, if it wasn't because of her, it would be too much of a coincidence. For no reason at all, they would suddenly help the beggars. Meanwhile, Yu Minmin and Gu Jingming were resting in the hospital. She wanted to return to Country C as soon as possible. She would only be at ease if she really went back with the children. Gu Jingming was also making urgent arrangements. However, the current situation in Country C couldn't be said to be good. Gu Jingming even thought that it might be better for them to stay here and recuperate. Otherwise, there would be a mess when they returned. Previously, because of Yu Minmin, he didn't think about this. But now that Yu Minmin was back, he had to start facing this kind of situation. Chapter 1077. Meanwhile, in Country M, Lin Shay was having a good time. Li Mingyu looked at Lin Shay and said to her, "What's the point of lying here watching TV and eating every day?" Lin Shay turned back to look at Li Mingyu. "You think I'm not good? Send me back to Country C then." Li Mingyu was such a weirdo. He wouldn't let her contact Gu Jingzhen no matter what, and he wouldn't let her tell the Gu family the reason for this incident. He was obviously trying to make things difficult for Gu Jingzhe, but she couldn't do anything about it. She could only stay here and recover her weight. Li Mingyu said, "What's the hurry? Gu Jingzhe doesn't seem to care about you. It's been a few days, and he still hasn't come looking for you." Lin Shay glared at him, too lazy to care about him. Li Mingyu said, "Do you want to go out for a walk? I'll go with you." "What's the point of you going with me?" "I'm not going," Lin Shay said proudly. Li Mingyu really had to give in to her. She was such a big shot. The servants in the house all thought it was strange that their master treated a pregnant woman so well. He was scolded and scolded by her every day, but he still looked at her with a smile. Just then, Lin Shay suddenly remembered that there was something she hadn't done yet. "Oh, right, we could go out for a walk." Li Mingyu was surprised that she suddenly changed her mind. "Go out for a walk." "Where to?" "I'll go wherever I want to go." "Let's go now." Lin Shay got up and changed her clothes. Li Mingyu looked helpless. Okay. We'll go wherever you want." He must have owed her in his past life for him to be so submissive to her. But in his heart, he was still willing. Lin Shay packed up and went out with him. When they got into the car, Li Mingyu asked, "Now you should tell me where to go, right?" Lin Shay said, "You know where the Club Yin Luo took me to last time, right? Let's go there." "Hey, why do you want to go there?" "I'm going to find someone." "Who?" Li Mingyu thought for a moment and his eyes twitched. Hey, you're not going to find a man, are you? Ah, you're right. I'm going to find a man. That Li Mingyu was about to explode in anger. Hey, I'm serving you here and you're actually looking for another man. You're too mean. Lin Shay snorted and said to him with a smile, It's because other men are more handsome than you. You. Li Mingyu was really going to lose to her. Was there anyone else who was as direct as her? Lin Shay said, Haha, look at you. Li Mingyu looked at her laughing face. Why? Are you purposely trying to provoke me again? Lin Shay thought for a moment and said, This time, it's really not. Li Mingyu was really cursing in his heart. The driver in front couldn't help but burst out laughing. This was the first time they had seen their super awesome master being looked down upon like this. It was obvious that there was a saying that everything had its vanquisher. Lin Shay said, why am I looking for a man? What man can be more handsome than Gu Jingze? After seeing Gu Jingze, I feel that all men are scum, especially in terms of looks. They can't even compare to Gu Jingze's finger. It's true that I'm going to look for a man from that place, but he's my savior. It's not what you think. Li Mingyu's face darkened. Why do I feel like this explanation doesn't sound right to me? She had explained for a long time, but it was all praises for Gu Jingze. How could she explain things to him like this? Was this an explanation, or was this a second round of damage? However, since she was going to look for someone, Li Mingyu didn't say anything else. He asked the driver to drive to the club and quickly got out of the car. When they entered and saw that it was Li Mingyu, the boss personally came out to welcome him. Li Mingyu said to Lin Shay, Tell me who you're looking for. Go look for him. Lin Shay said, Boss, I'm looking for someone called Xiao Si. Xiao Si. The boss said awkwardly, He can't come out to work today. Why? Many people had come to look for him these past few days. The boss couldn't do anything about it. This Xiao Si was too disappointing. He had praised her for a long time and finally made her famous, but now her face was ruined. He chuckled and said, He's sick and resting at home. Look at the other young masters here. There are so many of them. Look, they're not worse than Xiao Si. Behind them, many people saw Li Mingyu and rushed forward. This was the largest clubhouse in M country. There were more female princesses and male young masters than any other place. Lin Shay glanced at these people and said to the boss, I'm looking for Xiao Si. I hope you can tell me what's wrong with him and where he is. Just as Lin Shay finished speaking, Li Mingyu said impatiently, Just answer whatever I ask you. Stop talking so much nonsense. The boss was startled by Li Mingyu's scolding and quickly told him the place. Xiao Si lived in the dormitory behind them. This was the dormitory where the young masters lived and the conditions weren't good. Therefore, many young masters who had saved up money moved out to live on their own. But some people also felt that there was no point in living out there. They were all alone and didn't want to enjoy anything, so they stayed here. Inside, Xiao Si was lying on the bed, looking as if he could die at any moment. But the person beside him didn't care about him. He was still applying a facial mask and said, The room has been stinking recently. Another person who was playing games on his phone said, How can it not stink when there's a dead person there? It's so smelly. Boss, hurry up and throw him out. Is he the top girl? A lot of old women like him. Io, how could a top girl die here? His face was ruined and no one wants him anymore. How tragic. He was only the top girl for a few days and now he's been taken down. No one cares about him. No one wants him. Sigh. He's always been a jinx. Whoever touches him will die. Let's ask the boss to change our room to avoid bad luck. I heard that his family died because of him. The person on the bed suddenly moved. The two of them weren't afraid. Xiao Si had been beaten up quite badly that day. How could they be afraid of a cripple? You guys say that again. Xiao Si stood up from the bed with difficulty. What's wrong? Didn't the news of you jinxing someone spread far and wide? Didn't you jinx most of your family? What are you doing? What's wrong with you? I thought you were the boss top girl, but you're nothing now. You're worse than a pig or a dog. No one can help you. Xiao Si ignored the pain and went up to fight with a few people. Two people fighting against one person. Naturally, he was injured on top of his injuries. The security guard outside heard the commotion and hurriedly came in to stop them. Chapter 1078. When these young masters lived together, there would often be conflicts, and it was common for them to fight each other. As such, it was quite easy for the security guards to deal with them. After pulling them away, they looked at Xiao Si, who had been beaten up again, and shook their heads. They carried him to the bed and left him there. "Umph, he still dares to use force against us in this state," the two scolded. Suddenly, a group of people walked in. The one in front was Li Mingyu, followed by Lin Che. Li Mingyu frowned. What kind of lousy place is this? Seeing people walk in like this, the two hurriedly cleaned themselves up. Lin Che walked in and glanced around. The two blocked Xiao Si behind him and said, "Who are you looking for?" Lin Che said, "Where's Xiao Si?" The two's eyes twitched. They found it strange that someone would still come looking for him when he was already in this state. Moreover, he seemed to be such a high and mighty person, and such a beautiful woman at that. Just then, Lin Che heard a low cry from the bed. Her eyes twitching, she quickly pushed the two in front of her away. "Get out of my way. I want to see what's wrong." She pushed them away and stared blankly at Xiao Si on the bed. There were still bloodstains on Xiao Si's clothes. He looked half dead and weak. Lin Che grabbed his arm and said, "Xiao Si, Xiao Si?" He slowly raised his eyes. When he saw Lin Che, his gaze froze. Lin Che met his eyes and smiled. "I said I would come to thank you. If I'm still alive, I'll definitely help you. Xiao Si, don't worry. I'll find someone to take a look at you and see what's wrong with you." Xiao Si was extremely touched. He had never thought that one day, in his most difficult time, he would be able to see such a face. Such a beautiful face, gentle and kind, that saved him from the fire and the water. That day, Li Mingyu found someone to carry Xiao Si out. He had someone prepare a hospital and take him away. The boss here was also confused. He didn't know how Xiao Si got so lucky that Li Mingyu's people took a liking to him. Previously, he was still thinking that since Xiao Si was so disobedient, now that he was sick, he would just let him be. Although he looked good, there were too many young masters in the family. If he couldn't stand out, he didn't have the energy to care about him. Little did he know that Xiao Si's good fortune was so great that she didn't need them to care about her. He had already hit the jackpot long ago and met a benefactor. The boss naturally didn't dare to ask who Li Mingyu wanted to take away. He could only watch as they took Xiao Si away, leaving behind a group of people who sighed and enviously watched them leave. The hospital prepared a separate ward for Xiao Si. Xiao Si had some injuries on her face, but the injuries on her body were more serious. Her stomach had been bleeding internally. Although it was mild, it would definitely become serious after a long time. Fortunately, it was discovered now. If it had continued to bleed for a few more days, she would probably be dead. When Lin Che came to visit Xiao Si, he looked at Lin Che and smiled. Lin Che said, "I'm also trapped in America now, so I can't help you much. When I return to America, I'll think of a way to help you." Xiao Si said gratefully, "That's enough. For many, many years, no one has treated me so well. Being able to meet Miss Lin is really the luckiest thing in my life." "All right, Xiao Si, don't say that. How could Lin Che be so good? He just saved her, so she was prepared to help him." Xiao Si said, "My name isn't Xiao Si. Xiao Si is just a name I have over there." "Oh, then what's your name?" Lin Che asked. He said, "My name is Chung Yuan too." "Oh, what a nice name." Lin Che smiled. After settling him down, Lin Che and Li Mingyu went back. Li Mingyu said, "Sai, I'm really becoming more and more kind. I even helped a male prostitute find hospital." "Hey, male prostitutes aren't human." Li Mingyu looked at Lin Che. "But you're really something. He helped you once, and you saved him just like that." Lin Che said, "You should repay someone's kindness with a gushing spring, understand? And why didn't you thank me? I did save you after all." Lin Che turned to look at him. "That's weird." "What's weird?" "Weird. I don't feel any gratitude towards you." Li Mingyu was sure again that he really owed him. Just then, Li Mingyu's phone rang. He picked up the phone. The person on the phone said, "Sir, something's wrong with the Yun family." "What's wrong?" "Their network was hacked this morning, and they're still repairing it. I heard that the entire Yun family's manpower has been invested in finding the source." "Is that so? Li Mingyu's eyes darted around. Could it be that Gu Jingze had taken action? But if Gu Jingze knew that it was the Yun family's doing, it wouldn't be as simple as hacking their network. But this definitely wasn't an ordinary matter. Otherwise, the Yun family wouldn't be so anxious and send everyone into it. At that moment, at the place where Marika had just entered, a few bodyguards walked to a boy's side. "Young master, we've hacked the Yun family's network, but we didn't find anything." Gu Shinian nodded lightly. "But I'm sure that my mother is in Marika. We'll continue searching there." "Yes, young master. Recently, we've discovered something." "Look." "What?" "Yin Luo brought some people to a clubhouse to cause trouble. I heard that they even injured someone." "Yin Luo, how could she have gone to the clubhouse?" Gu Shinian said, "Go find her first." "Yes." Yin Luo was drinking in a shopping mall, waiting for the shop assistant to bring her clothes one by one. Just then, someone suddenly said, "Miss, someone wants to visit you." Yin Luo thought it was some rich young master and snorted. "No matter who it is, send him away. I'm not in a good mood. I'm not interested in anyone." "Why is Miss Yin in a bad mood? Does it have anything to do with my mother?" At this moment, a voice that was supposed to be childish, but with a hint of gloominess and craftiness, slowly drifted into the room. Yin Luo was startled. When she turned around, she saw that the person behind her was actually a child. Gu Shinian. Yin Luo had seen him a few times. Naturally, she knew that this was Gu Jingze and Lin Che's son. She stood up from her seat in shock. You, why are you here? You." She looked around and realized that he was the only one here. She didn't see anyone else. He actually came by himself. Such a young child came all the way here to ask her. Also, how did he get in here? This wasn't a place that just anyone could enter. One had to be a gold card member to enter. As if he knew what she was thinking, Gu Shinian slammed a card on the table. "I just applied for it. It cost me quite a bit of pocket money. But it's okay. I just want to ask Miss Yin where my mother is." Chapter 1079. All the employees looked at the child in shock. He had just flung out a card at the door and said that he wanted to apply for a gold card. To apply for a gold card here, one must first have 1 million deposited in the account. But this child had done it without batting an eyelid. When other children were at this age, they were probably still holding onto the corner of their mother's clothes, being a yes man and not daring to speak, or acting like a bear and causing trouble everywhere. But this child at this time was like a little adult, sitting there and speaking properly. Even without his parents by his side, he still appeared to be fearless. Yin Luo's eyes were filled with surprise. She looked at the child, speechless. This was Gu Jingze and Lin Che's child, right in front of her. Why was Lin Che a little bitch? Why was her child so special? She gritted her teeth as she looked at the child who looked like both Gu Jingze and Lin Che. She snorted and said, "You still dare to come here? Ha, child, this isn't a place for you to behave atrociously." As she said that, she shot a look at the Yun family's bodyguards. The bodyguards received the order and slowly moved closer. Gu Shinian said, "Since I dare to come here, I naturally have my reasons." He had checked at home and felt that there was a high possibility that the Yun family was involved. That was why he had come here. Yin Luo snorted and said, "You came at the right time. Unfortunately, I don't know what Lin Che will do if she finds out that her child is in my hands." As Yin Luo said that, her expression changed. The people behind her immediately swarmed forward. However, Gu Shinian's lips curled into a sly smile, and he said, "Since I dared to come here, did you think that I didn't make any preparations?" Just as he finished speaking, a few bodyguards jumped out from the side and pressed the bodyguards who had just swarmed forward on the ground, subduing them in an instant. Yin Luo looked at the few people who had come with her. In an instant, they had become prisoners on the ground. She turned pale and pointed at Gu Shinian, saying, You. The employees at the side were shocked by the sudden turn of events and quickly retreated. At this moment, when they looked at the little boy again, they no longer had the same expression as before. Instead, they looked even more surprised. Who was this little boy? He was too amazing. He was traveling alone, but there were so many people following behind him. They were all willing to listen to the commands of a little boy. He didn't know whose child this was, but he was actually so extraordinary. Yin Luo looked at him. Let go of my people. Gu Shinian said, All right, Miss Yin, tell me where my mother is first. Yin Luo snorted. Your little slut's mother is already dead. Gu Shinian's eyes sharpened. The person behind him immediately acted ruthlessly, and a man's arm was broken. The man shrieked in pain. The shop assistant next to him was so scared that his face turned pale, and he almost left the shop. Who would have thought that this cute and handsome child would be so ruthless at such a young age? He didn't even blink when he said that he would break someone's arm. She was simply a little devil. Yin Luo's expression also changed. What do you mean? She exclaimed. Gu Shinian said, If you answer my question, I'll let them go. Otherwise, I just like to hear that sound. Don't you think that the sound of bones breaking is very pleasing to the ear? Yin Luo bit her lower lip. Her eyes were filled with hatred. Even a little boy was bullying her now. However, Gu Shinian continued, But you only brought a few people with you. I don't think it's enough for me. Luckily, I still have you, Miss Yin's little arm. It sounds even better when it's broken. Now, a little boy wanted to break her arm to threaten her. However, Yin Luo didn't think that he was joking at all, because his appearance at this moment was truly ruthless. It reminded people of his father, Gu Jingze, who had always been described as decisive and merciless. She had the face of an angel, but her clothes had the heart of Satan. Yin Luo said, What do you want to know? I don't even know where your mother went. Gu Shinian said, But for what you said just now, it doesn't sound like you don't know where my mother went. Otherwise, you would have said that you don't know, instead of lying to me and saying that she's already dead. Yin Luo's expression changed slightly again. She had been arrogant just now because she thought that she could catch him in one go. She didn't think too much about it. Who would have thought that this little brat would be so crafty? Gu Shinian said, Why don't you just tell me where my mother went? From your expression, you should have seen her, but she has already escaped, right? Where did she escape to? This little boy was really smart. He was even smarter than the average adult. Yin Luo secretly cursed in his heart. Just how did this Lin Che give birth to such a little devil? This kind of child could already be seen now. If he grew up well, he would definitely have the ability to inherit the Gu family. And he was Lin Che's son. Lin Che's son was going to inherit the Gu family. Yin Luo couldn't accept this no matter what. Yin Luo stood there, his eyes moving. Gu Shinian pretended to sigh. Looks like you also think that the sound of bones breaking is very pleasing to the ear. As he said this, he gave another order. The man behind him let out another cry. Another tall bodyguard's arm was easily broken. All right, I'll tell you. Yin Luo couldn't take it anymore. Although she was currently being controlled by someone, and by a little child at that, she was still very afraid. She was afraid that a newborn calf wouldn't be afraid of a tiger. This little child had said that he was going to break her arm. If he really did break it, wouldn't she die of pain? She gritted her teeth and said, Your mother's indeed the #1 slut in Country C. She saw that Li Mingyu was easy to curry favor with, so she followed him to his house. If you want to find her, you have to be quick. Otherwise, she might be so infatuated with Li Mingyu that she doesn't even want to go home with you. Gu Shinian's expression changed. Naturally, he wasn't angry because he believed Yin Luo's words. He was angry because he heard someone insult his mother. He snorted and said directly, Very well, take care of these people for me. If my mother doesn't come back, they can forget about going back. His light order caused the expressions of the few people to change drastically. Gu Shinian immediately walked out. Yin Luo wanted to follow him, but was blocked by a bodyguard. The people behind him exerted force, and the arms of the bodyguards were instantly broken. Chapter 1080. With a loud wail, the few of them were dragged out. Yin Luo was so scared that she didn't dare to say another word. She could only stand there and watch them being dragged away. She couldn't believe that this little demon would become a big demon when he grew up. Anyway, he looked very scary now. Yin Luo quickly ran home. When she got home, she said to Yin Quishan in a daze, The Gu family is here, Dad. Yin Quishan saw that she ran home alone and said quickly, The Gu family? So fast. Who is it? Gu Jingze or Gu Jingming? Neither, Yin Luo said. It's Lin Che and Gu Jing's son. What? Yin Kushan almost fainted. He looked at Yin Luo as if she was an idiot. His daughter, who used to make him proud, was becoming more and more useless. She was crazy and only knew how to cause trouble. He said, "How old is their son?" Yin Luo said, "He's a little over 4 years old, but he's really scary." "Huh, you have the nerve to say he's 4 years old. You're scared to this extent by a 4-year-old child. You'd better not go out and embarrass yourself. Stay at home and study more." "No, Dad, this child is not ordinary. He brought people and took away my bodyguards. Really, he even humiliated me. I'm really sad." Yin Kushan said, "Hee, so young and already so arrogant." Yin Kushan believed that he brought people away. Although the child was young, he could command people. The Gu family had a lot of people anyway. Yin Kushan's eyes lit up. He's here just in time. If we get him, we'll have another hostage." Yin Luo looked at Yin Kushan. Dad, you want to catch him?" Yin Kushan said, "Of course. You didn't bring many people just now, so naturally you couldn't catch him. Now I'll send more people and get him. This child is the Gu family's favorite now. With him in our hands, what's there to worry about?" Seeing that Yin Kushan said it so casually, Yin Luo couldn't help but feel that she had been scared before. That was why she felt that a child was so scary. Now that she had her father as her backing, she didn't feel that it was a big deal. Gradually, the anger that had just been suppressed surfaced once again. This Lin Che had gone too far. Now, even their children were bullying others like this. Yin Luo thought that if she managed to get her hands on him, she would definitely vent her anger on him first. It would be best if she could cut off this child's flesh and give it to Lin Che as a gift. At that time, she would see if Lin Che could still be so arrogant without the gold medal in his hand. Gu Shinian was in the car. The Dark Guard immediately sent a message saying that the Yin family had sent someone. Yin Kushan only knew that Gu Shinian had brought people out, but he didn't know that the people Gu Shinian had brought weren't ordinary people, but the Gu family's most powerful hidden guards. In terms of fighting power, the hidden guards weren't as powerful as the personal guards, but when it came to gathering information, they were definitely top-notch. Gu Shinian harumphed. "They want to arrest me. All right, they caused such a big mess this time, and even caused Mom and Annie Min to lose their homes. We weren't going to let them off, but since they dared to provoke us, they can't blame us for being impolite." A hint of fierceness flashed through his eyes as he gave an order to the hidden guards at the side. Yin Kushan wanted to arrest someone, but he didn't do it directly. Instead, he first sent a message through Li Mingyu's people. At that time, Lin Che was resting in her room. She was leaning against the wall. The fruits that the servants had cut for her were right in front of her. The servants were practically treating her like their master, and their treatment was definitely not any worse than Li Mingyu's. Because in the past few days, they had realized that Li Mingyu was practically obedient to her. No matter how much she went overboard, Li Mingyu would never say a word against her. So naturally, the servants weren't stupid. They immediately treated her like a VIP and served her well. As Lin Che was eating, he suddenly noticed that a child's head had suddenly popped out from the side. It was Li Wei. Lin Che looked at his little head and waved at him. "Come here, what are you looking at? Come to Annie and eat some fruits together." Li Wei thought about it for a moment, then slowly and hesitantly walked out. Lin Che looked at the child happily. "What do you want to eat? Annie will peel it for you." Li Wei looked at her with his big eyes. "Are you going to be my mother?" Lin Che was stunned. "What are you talking about?" "No." Her eyes moved. "Did someone say anything to you?" Li Wei said, "They said that my father treats you very well." "My father treats you very well. Maybe you want to be my mother." Lin Che knew that the servants were probably making wild guesses. She shook her head and said, "No, I'm not going to be your mother. I'm here as a guest of your father. You can call me Annie Lin." Hearing this, Li Wei was also stunned. "Is that so? That's a pity. I was thinking that if you were to be my mother, I'd be quite happy too. You're so pretty. Compared to his mother, she was much prettier." Lin Che's heart ached. "Silly." Lin Che patted his head. "Even though Auntie isn't going to be your mother, Auntie can still love you, and even more. Come and eat." "Really?" "Of course. If you can You can call me Godmother. Godmother is also your mother. But your father and I are just friends, understand? Lin Che knew that his birth was a tragedy, but she didn't hate this child. This child was innocent. He was brought into this world by an irresponsible mother. He was the biggest victim. When Li Mingyu came back, he was surprised to see Li Wei sitting beside Lin Che. Li Wei was talking to Lin Che and smiling happily. He didn't know what they were talking about, but his eyes were sparkling. He stared blankly, thinking that his eyes were playing tricks on him. This son of his, who he thought was a mute and didn't like to talk, actually had such a side to him. Or could it be that this Lin Che really had some kind of magical power? Why did everyone in front of her have a different side to them? Even he himself was the same. If it weren't for her, he would have felt that those women were boring and chased away all of his women. This place wouldn't be like this right now. But for some reason, he believed what she said. But now, the news he was about to bring was terrible. Lin Che, I just received a piece of news. Ah, what? Lin Che turned around. Li Mingyu said, It seems like your son came to Country M to look for you. Lin Che immediately sat up from his chair. What? He came to Country M every year? Even though she was shocked, she wasn't surprised. He could return to Country C from America every year, so naturally, he could come to Country M from Country C. It wasn't a difficult thing. But why did he suddenly come? Chapter 1081. Lin Che said, How can you come and go as you please? The Yin family was still eyeing him, and the situation in the country was not stable. He was just a child. In the past, when he was in America, no one knew his identity, so he was much safer. But now, many people were eyeing his identity as the successor of the Gu family. How could he come and go so casually? Lin Che said, Then what should we do? Is there any other way? Li Mingyu said, I heard that the Yun family is already on their way to attack. What? Lin Che turned pale with fright. Li Mingyu said, I'm afraid your son doesn't know yet. He's still leisurely on the road. The Yun family has already told him that you're here, so he'll definitely come over. However, the Yun family has set up such a trap for him. Hearing this, Lin Che panicked even more. Then what should we do? Don't be too anxious, Li Mingyu said. They probably just want to capture him alive. After all, he's a very powerful hostage. What kind of comfort was that? Lin Che said, No, I have to contact Gu Jingze and let him handle it. Hey, what's the rush? I've already sent people to follow the Yun family. Don't worry, I won't let anything happen to your son. Lin Che looked at Li Mingyu suspiciously. Li Mingyu said, I helped you so much, but you still don't believe me. Isn't that too sad for me? This was no joking matter. It involved Nian Yan's safety, so of course she couldn't treat it as a joke. Li Mingyu said, Even if you inform Gu Jingze now, he's in C Nation. He's not as powerful as me in M Nation. I'm afraid it'll be too late, even if he comes. Lin Che thought that Li Mingyu's words made sense. Since Nian Yan was already on his way, it would be useless even if Gu Jingze came. What do we do now? I'll go look after the Yin family. Wait here for a moment. The Yin family had sent out many people to watch. Gu Shinian had already set up ambushes at the places he would definitely pass by on his way to Li Mingyu's place. Yin Kuishan looked at Gu Shinian on the road. In the car, he sat at the back, and his secret guard sat at the front, and he snorted. When this little brat did things, he really did look the part. If he could be nurtured properly, he would definitely be a talent. Unfortunately, he was Gu Jingze's son. He hated himself for not giving birth to a good son. After giving birth to a daughter like Yin Luo, she was still so disappointing. So when he saw how good her son was, he was really envious. Unfortunately, no matter how good it would fall into his hands today. He snorted. Seeing Gu Shinian getting closer and closer to the ambush, he laughed even more. Previously, they had secretly released the news that Li Mingyu had locked people in this abandoned factory. Because the factory was originally abandoned by Li Mingyu, it was easier for people to accept it. From the looks of it, Gu Shinian had fallen for their trap. The car drove in, and a cunning smile appeared on Yin Kuishan's face. He waved his hand and said, Go. Then, a group of people rushed forward and fired at the car. As expected, the car was equipped with bulletproof glass. It was hit like raindrops, but nothing happened. Yin Kushan snorted and walked out, looking at the car. Come out, little friend. The game is over. I'll take you home to play. However, the car did not move. There was only a figure swaying in the black glass, but it did not come out. Yin Kushan said, You can't hide in there forever, can you? Your mother is still in the Li family. If you come with me, we can go and get your mother back. Wouldn't it be better for you and your son to reunite? Seeing that the car still did not move, Yin Kushan snorted. How long do you plan to stay here? If you keep shooting, even the most powerful bulletproof glass will break. Come out. You're already a bird in a cage. There's no turning back. Oh, is that so? Grandpa Yin? A voice suddenly came from above. The childish coldness made people's hearts skip a beat. Turning around, Yin Kushan was surprised to see that the child was standing outside, and the dark guards around him were holding weapons, guarding against the people inside. You, how did you? Yin Kushan looked at the car inside, then at the child. Gu Shinian said, The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. Grandpa Yin should know more than I do. He had fallen into a trap. Yin Kushan slapped his forehead. He had actually been tricked by a child. Gu Shinian looked at him. Grandpa Yin, what do you want to do now? Yin Kushan's face was filled with anger. At a glance, he saw that Gu Shinian only had a few people, and he had basically mobilized all of the Yun family's power. Yin Kushan was furious. He never thought that he would be blocked here by a child today. He definitely could not let this matter get out. He waved his hand and said, Beat him alive or dead. I want to see that brat. Yin Kushan's people immediately rushed over. Gu Shinian snorted. He was the first to pick up his gun and shoot at Yin Kushan. A shot landed on the head of one of the Yun family guards. He stood there with a gun in one hand, making people feel that this child wasn't that short, but rather incomparably tall. Especially the frosty look on his face. It made people's hearts feel even more silent. Some people had already unknowingly stopped. Gu Shinian was just warning them. He snorted and said, You could try to move, but my gun doesn't have eyes. If you want to force your way in, then you'll have to see if the pension that the Yun family gives you is enough for your entire family to live on. The few of them were even more stunned. Yin Kushan did not believe that a child could do anything big. He snorted and shouted, Attack! You're a group of men, and you're afraid of child? Yes, were they afraid of child? They suddenly came to their senses. They were well-trained special forces, but they almost retreated because of a child's words? How could this be? They immediately rushed forward as well. Gu Shinian snorted and said, Courting death. He fired another shot, hitting a person's leg. Blood immediately gushed out. No one thought that such a young child would have such accurate marksmanship. However, after that, Gu Shinian did not need to care anymore. He just waved his hand for the hidden guards to come forward and said, Don't leave anyone alive. Then he walked out. The Yin family had prepared a trap for him. They wanted to catch a turtle in a jar, but they did not expect to become the turtle themselves. Gu Shinian walked out indifferently, but at this moment, a hidden guard suddenly walked over. Young master, Yin Luo went to find Madam. Gu Shinian paused. Yin Luo went to find his mother. What was her motive? Chapter 1082. Yin Luo immediately rushed to Li Mingyu's place. She wanted to go in no matter what, but Li Mingyu's men did not let her. She shouted from outside, Lin Che, come out right now. Look at what your son has done. Don't you care about him anymore? Lin Che naturally heard the commotion outside. Yin Luo's voice was too loud, and the commotion was too great. It was impossible not to hear it. Lin Che walked out and saw Yin Luo standing there, looking at him. Yin Luo said, No matter what I've done, Lin Che, you can do whatever you want of me. Just let the Yin family go. We have nothing left. We can't take this anymore. Seeing Yin Luo suddenly say this, Lin Che felt a little strange. I don't understand what you're saying. It was clearly your Yin family that wanted to go against the Gu family. What do you mean by begging me now? Yin Luo's expression was sickly. She shook her head and said, I'm already beyond cure. I know that I don't have many years left. You stole my love for Gu Jingze. My family is gradually losing hope in me. and they're even thinking of ways to sell me off. I have nothing left, but please let the Yin family go and let me have a place to stay. Is that all right? What are you talking about? Lin Che said. Yin Luo said, don't you know what your son wants to do to the Yin family? Don't you know? Nian Yin. What happened to Nian Yin? Lin Che asked hurriedly. Yin Luo said, don't you know what happened to your son? You're a slut, and he's a demon. He surrounded everyone in the Yin family and wants to kill them all. Don't you know what he's doing? What? What are you talking about? He's just a child. Huh. He's the good son you raised. He's so evil at such a young age. He'll definitely be a disaster when he grows up. Lin Che didn't really believe it. Nian Yin was impossible. Even if he was educated earlier than most children, he shouldn't be so hard to control. But at that moment, Yin Luo suddenly approached him. Before Lin Che could react, she had already arrived at his side. Lin Che wasn't taken care of as well at Li Mingyu's place as he was at the Gu family. There was not a single person here, so it was very easy for Yin Luo to close in. Lin Che was stunned. He grabbed Yin Luo's wrist with the back of his hand and threw Yin Luo to the ground in an instant. However, at this moment, Lin Che felt pain in his stomach. She lowered her head and saw Yin Luo pointing a dagger at Lin Che's stomach. His pale face revealed a treacherous expression. You can run away, Lin Che, but can you guarantee that your stomach will be fine? Lin Che's heart turned cold. Yin Luo said, your son will only let the Yun clan off if he sees you in my hands. I have no choice but to do this. Lin Che closed his eyes. I don't believe you. You've wanted to kill me for a long time. Yin Luo really wanted to kill her. But not now, not after Gu Xinian spared the Yun family. She said fiercely, follow me. Li Mingyu wasn't there at the moment. Seeing this scene, Li Mingyu's men were terrified. This was a woman that their master treasured so much. If something happened to her when he was not around, they would not want to think about it. Live, with her dagger pointed at him, Lin Che had no choice but to walk out. At this moment, just as he was outside, he saw Gu Xinian running over with his men. Seeing Nian Yin, Lin Che's eyes brightened. Nian Yin. Gu Xinian's heart skipped a beat, but seeing Lin Che, he could only stop in his tracks. I miss Mama. Lin Che wanted to run over, but he couldn't. Yin Luo continued to threaten her. Looking at Gu Xinian, he said, if you let the Yin family off, I will let your mama go. If not, you can say goodbye to your mama. Gu Xinian looked at Yin Luo, his eyes fierce. Let my mama go. I know that you just want a hostage. I can be your hostage. Lin Che's eyes widened. No, Nian Yin, Mama should protect you. Gu Xinian said, Mama, I'm a man. I should protect the women in the family. Yin Luo was amused. Looking at Gu Xinian, she said, she's alone, and there's another one in her stomach. I have 2 hostages. Why should I trade you? Gu Xinian said, my mama is pregnant with a girl. Between a girl and a boy, which one is more important? You should know, right? My great-grandfather definitely wants me. If he knows that my mama is a threat to the Gu family, he will kill my mama to prevent any future troubles. So, even though you have 2 hostages, they're only useful to me and my papa. They are useless to the Gu family. But I'm different. Yin Luo looked at Lin Che's stomach. You're pregnant with a girl? Gu Xinian walked forward. So you have a short time to consider. Do you want my mama or me? Yin Luo hesitated for a moment. She wasn't a smart person. She just wanted to help the Yun family out of impulse. In that moment of hesitation, Gu Xinian suddenly fired a shot, directly hitting Yin Luo's shoulder. Blood splattered on Lin Che's body. Lin Che jumped in fright, but Yin Luo's lower body collapsed. Gu Xinian looked at her coldly, then ran to Lin Che's side. Lin Che hurriedly said, Go, don't come over. She pulled Gu Xinian up and hurriedly carried him to the side. Yin Luo's lower body was held down by a few people. Even if they weren't holding her down, she wouldn't be able to move. She lay there, panting, her lips pale. Gu Xinian stood next to Lin Che, holding Lin Che's hand. Seeing that his men were already holding Yin Luo down, he said coldly in a low voice, Bring her out. Don't dirty other people's places. Yes, young master. How should we deal with her? Gu Shunyan's cold gaze swept over the person on the ground. He was silent for a moment, then said in an even lower voice, "I will deal with her later. You guys bring her away first." That voice was very decisive, as if he already had a card up his sleeve. No one could refuse him. Yin Luo looked at his gaze, looked at the blood on his body, and felt a chill on his cheeks. That fair face and young lips were so bright that it was as if he was an emissary from hell. It made people feel that the colors were distinct and clear, just like the hatred and determination in his eyes. In an instant, Yin Luo's entire body trembled in fear. Don't kill me. I don't want to die. I don't want to." Hearing her cries, Gu Shunyan's gaze turned even colder. He shot a warning glance at his men. They didn't delay any further and hurriedly brought her out. At this moment, Li Mingyu had already rushed over after hearing the news. But even if he was beaten to death, he would never have imagined that the scene he would see would be a scene that had already been cleaned up and a little person with a cold expression on his face. This was Lin Che and Gu Jing's son. It was indeed shocking. Chapter 1083. Li Mingyu originally wanted to go and help. Of course, he also wanted to see what was going on with this powerful young master who had come to the M Nation on his own. However, when he arrived, he found that the scene had already been cleaned. It was said that the Yin family's people had escaped with great difficulty and were killed by Gu Shunyan's people. Yin Quishan had also left pathetically. Gu Shunyan was nowhere to be found. Then, he heard that Yin Luo had come. When he rushed back, he realized that the place had already been cleaned up by Gu Shunyan. Li Mingyu didn't expect that. He knew that the Gu family would come and take Lin Che away, but he didn't expect that the Gu family would send this little one. Gu Shunyan looked so majestic at such a young age, and he already had the demeanor of a father. He looked surprisingly calm, and his eyes were filled with viciousness. Although it was probably because of his young age, his viciousness and stubbornness made it seem like he didn't care about anything. He was still better than many adults. While he was shocked, he thought of his own child and felt that it was a pity. They were the same age, but that child was so naughty. If he was half as good as Gu Shunyan, he wouldn't be so annoyed every day. Lin Che cried out. Seeing the blood on Gu Shunyan's body, he squatted down and asked, "What's wrong, Yin Yin? Are you hurt?" Gu Shunyan patted him. "No, it's someone else's." Lin Che heaved a sigh of relief, but he felt even more worried. "What happened? Why did you bring a gun?" Gu Shunyan said hurriedly, "Mom, I finally found you." It was only then that Lin Che remembered that he had finally been found. She hugged Yin Yin. I finally see you. Yin Yin, Mom misses you so much." After hugging for a while, Lin Che let go of Gu Shunyan and looked at him. "Does your father know how you came here?" Gu Shunyan said, "I've already asked someone to inform Dad about what happened here. Mom, don't worry. I found this place based on some clues. We'll talk about it when we get back to Country C. I'm okay." He pulled Lin Che and turned around to see that Li Mingyu was still behind. Li Mingyu's dark eyes stared at Gu Shunyan. After a while, he said, "Not bad, little brat. You didn't need me to save you and ran here yourself." Gu Shunyan looked at him arrogantly. "I can still handle such a small matter." This arrogance was no less than his father's. Li Mingyu said, "Then why don't you stay here with your mom for a few more days?" Gu Shunyan said, "There's no need. There's still many things to do at home. Also, my mother is pregnant, so it's not convenient for her to stay outside for long." Li Mingyu said, "Isn't recuperating here better than in Country C? It's so chaotic. With my dad protecting my mom, it won't be any worse than yours." "All right, I've already informed my dad. You can't stop us. Let's not waste any more time." "Hey, you brat. You're as heartless as your mother. I did save her, okay?" Gu Shunyan looked at Lin Che. "Is that so, Mom?" Lin Che looked at Li Mingyu speechlessly and said, "I guess so." "What do you mean by guess so?" Lin Che looked at Li Mingyu. "All right, now that Gu Jingza knows about it, I'd better go back. I won't stay here as a guest anymore. If he comes again, it'll be even worse. It won't be good if he turns the world upside down. All right, if there's nothing else, I'll be leaving first." Li Mingyu knew that he couldn't stop her this time. He could only sigh and say, "All right, I'll go to Country C to play with you next time. Lin Che looked at Gu Xinian. Let's go then. Li Mingyu said, All right, I'll arrange a plane for you. Don't be in a hurry to leave. Pack up and change your clothes. The plane will probably arrive in a few hours. Gu Xinian nodded. He still had things to deal with. Li Mingyu kept looking at Gu Xinian. His gaze became more and more profound. In the end, he sighed. When they were outside, Gu Xinian looked at the secret guard he had brought with him. The secret guard said, Young master, how should we deal with them? Gu Xinian said, Bring me to see them first. When they arrived at the place where Yun Luo was imprisoned, Yun Luo saw him. She immediately revealed a sinister expression amidst the pain. Fear, worry, terror, and a complicated expression made her face look extremely ugly. Gu Xinian said, If I let you go, you'll probably harm my mother again. If I don't let you go, you'll be a disaster sooner or later. Yin Luo laughed loudly. Anyway, I don't have many days left to live. I know that my heart is failing again, and I'm going to die soon. You can do whatever you want to me. It's fine. Why become a malicious spirit? I'll look for that bitch mother of yours. I'll look for you and everyone else to take revenge. Gu Shinian's gaze darkened when he heard her insult Lin Che again. I'm not afraid of you when you're alive. Who do you think will care about you when you're dead? But if that was the case, she really couldn't stay. Gu Xinian waved his hand. Deal with it. Make it clean. Yes. You're even more ruthless than that father of yours. Just then, Li Mingyu's voice came from behind. Gu Xinian turned around and saw Li Mingyu. He said, I don't need you to care about my Gu family's matters. Li Mingyu looked at him. How do you deal with it cleanly? Kill her directly? Even if you kill her, there must be a corpse. Someone will find out. When that time comes, they'll say that you did it. When your mother finds out, what will she do? Gu Xinian said, To deal with it cleanly means to let her die from a heart attack. So what if there's a corpse? Huh, Li Mingyu said. Smart indeed. He was so smart at such a young age. Li Mingyu said, But it's not good for you to be so ruthless at such a young age. You should be more careful. Gu Xinian said, If I'm not ruthless, then my mother and my unborn brother might be killed by someone else. I can't take the risk. Li Mingyu sighed. It's a good thing you were born in the Gu family. But it's a pity that you were born in the Gu family. A genius like him would succeed in everything he did. It was a good thing that he was born in the Gu family, so his talent wouldn't be a disgrace. It was a pity that he was born in the Gu family, so he could only continue to scheme and scheme against the Gu family. Even if he had other talents, he probably wouldn't be able to use them. After dealing with the matters here, Lin Che and Gu Xinian prepared to go back. They got into the car and rushed to the airport. Li Mingyu came to send them off. Li Mingyu looked at Lin Che reluctantly. When she was around, everything seemed to be very interesting, but it was a pity that she belonged to someone else. At this moment, a car suddenly whistled in from the outside. A few people appeared outside the airport hall, causing many people to stop in their tracks and turn around. The person in front was dressed in a black trench coat. When he walked in, his footsteps were like the wind. His expression was cold, and he looked very frightening. But his handsome face was strangely captivating. Chapter 1084. It was Gu Jingze. Lin Che turned around and saw Gu Jingze, whom she hadn't seen for a long time. Her heart was filled with joy and sorrow. She hadn't expected that she would finally be able to see Gu Jingze again after so many days of worry, fear, joy, and sorrow. She felt a lot of emotions in her heart. Li Mingyu was still there. He said, No way. He's here so soon. It had only been a few hours since he was notified. Since they had rushed here so quickly, it was likely that they had taken a military plane. Li Mingyu harumphed. Seeing that everyone was staring at Gu Jingze the moment he arrived, he thought disdainfully, How shallow. These people only know how to look at their faces. But when he turned around and saw that Lin Che was also walking over excitedly, he gritted his teeth. Shallow. What's so good about a man who came so late at night? However, Lin Che had already run over and jumped into Gu Jingze's arms, hugging him tightly. The people around them were watching, but when they saw him hugging a woman so passionately, it hurt their eyes. Sigh. Good-looking men either have good-looking women by their side or good-looking men by their side, Lin Che said. I'm sorry. I snuck out. Gu Jingze let go of her and looked at her from head to toe. Lin Che said, I'm fine. It's just that it was dangerous, but I managed to survive every time. Really? Just then, Gu Jingze felt someone beside him. He pulled Lin Che behind him and looked up at Li Mingyu, who was walking over. He said, Thank you for your hospitality these few days, but my wife isn't feeling well, so I won't disturb you for now. Li Mingyu said, Are you sure? I know that country C isn't very peaceful right now. Have you settled your family matters? Are you sure you're not feeling well enough to go back? What? Country C isn't doing well? Lin Che looked at Gu Jingze worriedly. She hadn't been in Country C for a few days, so she didn't know how things were there. Gu Jingze's expression didn't change. He was still holding Lin Che's hand tightly. He said mildly, You're safe here. That meant that he was the one who wasn't safe. Li Mingyu said, Are you sure? You can't even settle such a small matter and took so long to pick up your wife. With mistily taking care of her, I can rest assured. Is that so? You're welcome. But if you came a little later, perhaps Lin Che wouldn't be willing to go back with you. I believe that after being with my wife for so many years, even if her IQ hasn't increased, her foresight should have increased. This meant that her taste wasn't so bad that she would fall for Li Mingyu. Li Mingyu was so angry that he wanted to rush forward. Gu Jingze pretended that it had nothing to do with him. He lowered his head and held Lin Che's hands. He lowered his head and said, It's okay now. I'll take you home. The people next to them were really envious. These men, from their appearance and family background, looked different from ordinary people. Although they didn't take up much space, they still seemed to be the center of the airport. Seeing that the two of them were about to start arguing again, Lin Che hurriedly said, All right. Gu Jingze, I'm really grateful to him these days. He's helped me a lot. Oh yeah, there's another person who helped me here. I feel sorry for him. He's lonely and helpless here, and he's even injured. I hope you can bring him back to Country C to help him recover. Gu Jingze heard her and turned around. He nodded and said, Okay. Gu Jingze then looked at Gu Xinian, who was behind him. Nian, he said. Gu Xinian laughed dryly. Dad, didn't you say that you went out to buy a Trojan horse? Why didn't you come back? He said that he was going out to buy something and then went straight to Country M. This sieve was really Lin Che quickly turned around. Nian, didn't you say that you told Dad? This child was getting more and more daring. All right. Let's go home first, Gu Xinian said hurriedly. Gu Jingze sighed. He looked at Gu Xinian and only shook his head. Lin Che's worry wasn't without reason. If he continued to be so arrogant, something would happen sooner or later. Gu Jingze understood this, so he didn't say anything for now. The most important thing was to leave this place with his people first. Country C was still in chaos. Many people were calling for Gu Jingming to step down. However, Gu Jingming naturally wouldn't give in so easily. After he returned to the country, he held an emergency meeting and asked the team behind him to start working. He didn't know who was behind all this, and he didn't know where to start. However, before Gu Xinian informed him, he already knew that it was the Yun family, so he had already started working. On the way back, Lin Che flipped through the news. It said that someone had found out that the person who released the news was someone from Country M. It was unknown why Country M was trying so hard to discredit the president of Country C. At the same time, something happened at the Anyan Railway. Gu Jingming sent people to provide disaster relief, and everyone's attention was attracted by the disaster. Gu Jingming had also released news that the president's wife had recently given birth and the child was born early. He was at home looking after the child and dedicated himself to the family, so he didn't have time to deal with these groundless rumors. Lin Che said in surprise, Min's child was born? But it's not very early. Yes, it was born 7 months early. Lin Che said, Isn't it very dangerous? Gu Jingze said, Yu Minmin suffered a lot in Country M. The child couldn't hold on for too long. Fortunately, 7 months is enough. Although he's a little weak, he'll be fine under the care of so many nurses and doctors. Don't worry. Lin Shay thought about it and agreed, but he still felt sorry for her. She had given birth so early. She could have stayed at home to wait for the birth, but something like this happened. Lin Shay said, I was very worried about you, Min Min, so I ran out. Gu Jingze, I'm sorry. Gu Jingze sighed and looked at her. Even if you don't care about yourself, you have to take care of me. If anything happens to you, won't you worry about me? Lin Shay looked at him. But I don't want anything to happen to Min Min, especially when she's pregnant with a child. It's such a small child. I'm worried that there's something wrong with the child. That's too pitiful. I think that even if I die, you still have Nian Nian. Don't talk nonsense, he said. If you die, there'll be no one left. What? If you die, I won't live alone. He held her face. Lin Shay's heart ached even more. Gu Jingze, don't say that. She couldn't bear it. She didn't have the ability to make him care about his life like this. Gu Jingze said, when you're around, there's someone to share success with. Without you, there's no point in achieving anything. What's the point of living then? Lin Shay blushed. Then there's our child. I love him because we had a child together. If you're gone, what's the point of having a child? Lin Shay said, hey, Nian Nian will be sad if you're like this. He has his own life, and there will be many people he loves who love him. But you're different, so he'll understand. Lin Shay's heart was filled with all kinds of feelings. Looking at him now, she didn't know whether to feel sad, guilty, or touched. Chapter 1085. Gu Jingze hugged her. So don't give up your life so easily next time. You have to remember that there are people waiting for you. Lin Shay's heart softened, and she felt even more guilty. Leaning into his embrace, she caressed his chest and said, I know, but she had never felt so important before. She leaned against him, not knowing what to say. Words couldn't express how she felt. She just felt very touched. For a moment, she felt that there were so many people around her who loved her. It made her feel incomparably beautiful. Compared to the past, when she was alone in the Lin family, no matter how hard it was like heaven. At this moment, behind them, Gu Shinian had not even entered the house when he was already jealous of the two of them. Cheng Yuan too, who had come with them, wanted to come in to thank them, but Gu Shinian stood there and said, forget it. Let's not disturb the two of you. Cheng Yuan looked in and saw the two of them hugging each other tightly. He could only raise his eyebrows and leave. The two of them seemed to have a good relationship. He had seen ordinary couples before. When their children grew up, their lives would revolve around their children, and they wouldn't be so lovey-dovey. But their child was already their second, yet they were still so close. Moreover, the other party was someone as powerful as Gu Jingze. It was Cheng Yuantu's first time taking a private jet. He heard that it belonged to Li Mingyu, and he wanted to borrow it. The plane wasn't big, but it was fully functional and well-decorated. It was very comfortable to sit and lie down. Cheng Yuan looked inside and didn't disturb them. There would be plenty of opportunities to thank them when they reached Country C. Lin Shay and Gu Jingze got off the plane and rushed to Glass Palace first. Lin Shay was very worried about Yu Minmin and his child. She wanted to go and take a look. Gu Jingze didn't reject her and brought her to Glass Palace. Gu Jingming's concern for Yu Minmin went without saying. Before they entered Glass Palace, they saw that the decorations had already been changed, making the entire place feel more cozy. Lin Shay said, you guys even rearranged it. Linda said, yes, Sir felt that there was a child in the house, and it's a girl, so he wanted it to be warmer so that little Miss and Madam would feel more comfortable. That's why we changed the decorations urgently. It's not enough. We'll slowly fix it. Lin Shay smiled. Mr. President, you're really diligent. After entering, she saw that the baby's room had already been decorated. It was pink and yellow, giving off a warm feeling. The baby's room was very big, and there was even a nanny's lounge inside. Now that the child was still young, the decorations were as convenient as possible. The baby's bed was in the middle, surrounded by a thick carpet. When the child was a little older, he could casually play on the ground. There were very few decorations on the side, and there were piles of toys. It looked very pleasing to the eye. The child would love it here. Yu Minmin was inside. She was in confinement and looked very clean. She had suddenly lost a lot of weight, but her complexion looked fine. As soon as Lin Che entered, he saw that the surroundings were filled with medical staff examining Yu Minmin's body. As soon as Lin Che entered, Yu Minmin exclaimed in surprise, "Why are you back?" Lin Che walked over. "I want to see you and the child first." Yu Minmin stretched out her arms. "Quick, let me see if you're all right." Lin Che walked over. "You're the one who should be more concerned right now. What could possibly happen to me? I heard that you've suffered so much." Yu Minmin smiled helplessly. "Maybe this is fate." She looked at Lin Che. "But I heard that you actually went to Country M to exchange for me." Lin Che smiled awkwardly and touched his head. "Don't mention it. You would have run away if I went." Yu Minmin tugged at him. "Why are you so silly?" Lin Che said, "It's not for you, but for the child. What's there to be silly about?" Yu Minmin said, "Silly, if something really happened to you, how would I explain it to Gu Jingze and Yun Yin Yin?" Lin Che said, "There's no need to explain it." Yu Minmin knew that there was no need to say anything now. She just held Lin Che's hand and thanked the heavens that she had met Lin Che in her most difficult time. From then on, she didn't just have a simple friend. Lin Che said, "Oh, right. Where's the child?" Yu Minmin looked up and asked the nanny to carry the child over. Yu Minmin's milk wasn't good enough, so she was still drinking milk powder. It was probably because the child was born at 7 months, so the child was still very weak and couldn't be outside all the time. After holding it for a while and feeding it milk, it had to go back to the incubator to sleep. The child looked very small, much smaller than Yin Yin had been at that time. Lin Che sighed. If it wasn't for this incident, Yu Minmin and the child wouldn't have gotten into trouble. Fortunately, they all came back alive. The outcome was still satisfactory. The child still didn't look like anyone. At a glance, it looked like Yu Minmin, but it didn't look very similar. Gu Jingming named the child Yin Yin in order to never forget what Yu Minmin had done for him all those years. Yu Minmin actually didn't think that she had done anything. Gu Jingming couldn't be blamed for this. It was those bad people who wanted to harm them. It had nothing to do with Gu Jingming. However, Gu Jingming still blamed himself. He felt that if it wasn't for him, Yu Minmin wouldn't have suffered. The next day, Gu Jingming posted a photo of Yu Minmin and the child. The child used a special photography technique and didn't show his face. He looked very small and was lying in his mother's arms. After the photo was posted, there was a lot of sighs. They felt that the child was so small and cute. Some people thought that Gu Jingming delayed a few days for his family. It was understandable. He was a family man. Some people said that he was the president and shouldn't have caused such a mess in Sea Country for his family. But no matter what, the child immediately became a hot topic. It seemed that the sudden birth of the child had covered up a lot of topics about political marriage. They were secretly slapped in the face by these words. Although some people could say that it was also untrustworthy, no one had any special evidence to say that Gu Jingming had any reason to step down. After the Yun family no longer got involved, some dark topics were also swept away. After a few days of work, Gu Jingming appeared for the first time. He didn't respond to these things. He only responded to the questions about the accident. Then, the matter seemed to pass quietly. But Lin Che knew that Gu Jingming had secretly investigated whether someone in the Sea Country's parliament had done something. The president's guards quietly changed the leader. The National Information Bureau quietly changed a few higher-ups. The parliament quietly replaced a few important officials. Chapter 1086. The purge was carried out slowly, just like the beginning. The people wouldn't understand the truth behind the political marriages, and they wouldn't know how many undercurrents were surging in the calm. Lin Che had heard about it from Gu Jingze by chance. She didn't ask about the details. They had their own reasons for making arrangements. Lin Che just needed to rest at home for a while. As her body got better, she had more time to do other things. After Gu Jingze came back, he paid more attention to Lin Che. He stayed at home with her every day and didn't go anywhere. When she woke up in the morning, Gu Jingze was beside her. He looked at Lin Che, holding his chin as if he had been looking at her for a long time. This made Lin Che a little puzzled. She quickly lowered her head and touched her face. "What's wrong? Is there something on my face?" She touched her face. There didn't seem to be anything different, or was there a mark of saliva? Recently, she seemed to drool a little. Because she was pregnant, she couldn't control it. Gu Jingze shook his head. No, Lin Che said. Then why do you keep looking at me? Gu Jingze smiled. Because you look good. Lin Che snorted and covered her face. Don't look. Don't look. Gu Jingze pulled her hand away. Why can't I look? It's so good. Of course it's for me to see. Lin Che said, You've been looking at me for so long. You can see my face even with your eyes closed. What's so good about it? Of course not, Gu Jingze said. I make new discoveries every day. Ah, what discovery? Lin Che blinked in disbelief. Gu Jingze pinched her nose. Your nose is so small. Duh. What kind of discovery was this? Lin Che said, You're just looking at this. Aren't you bored? What's there to be bored about? He leaned there, his head tilted sideways. The blanket covered half of his body, and the sun shone on his chest. He was wearing checkered pajamas, and the buttons were loose. Half of his chest was exposed, and it made one's imagination run wild. She felt that looking at him like this would never be boring for the rest of her life. But what was so good about her that he said, I don't know why you're so good looking. I just like to look at you. Lin Che felt that he was getting better at saying such sweet words. She blurted them out without thinking. Her face was slightly flushed by the sunlight. Looking at him, she pursed her lips and said, What if I get sick of it one day? What can we do? Gu Jingze asked. Lin Che curled his lips. Changing people? Gu Jingze said. Then I'll have to find someone else to adapt to. I've finally adapted to you, and I really don't want to waste time adapting to someone else. You. Lin Che glared at him. Gu Jingze said, If it doesn't work, you can have plastic surgery and change your face for me to see for another 10 years. Lin Che shouted, Gu Jingze. She flipped over and pressed Gu Jingze underneath her. Hey, be careful. Gu Jingze was worried that her movements would be too big and her stomach would be touched, so he didn't dare to resist. Therefore, he who had always been tall and strong was directly pressed down by Lin Che, just like that. Lin Che said, Do you still dare to say it? Gu Jingze looked at her. She still dared to ride on his body. Get off me. I don't want to hurt you, Gu Jingze said. Lin Che said, Humph, the person below me still dares to talk to me like this. Now that you're the one below me, hurry up and tell me whether you still dare to talk nonsense or not. This girl didn't want to live anymore. She dared to ride on his body and talk to him like this. Lin Che, get off me. Little girl, you're being pressed down by this great uncle, so you have to listen to me. What are you doing? Are you going to scream? Even if you scream until your throat breaks, no one will save you. She chuckled and reached out to lift his chin to tease him. Gu Jingze was really. He said, Are you going to get off me or not? No, I won't. Gu Jingze said, Okay, you. Hee, what do you want to do? What do you dare to do? She stuck out her stomach, looking as if she had a backer. Gu Jingze raised his eyebrows and looked at her, then at her stomach. He really didn't dare to do anything that so he, the dignified head of the Gu family, was now being ridden by a little girl and threatened, and he still didn't dare to make a move against her. How'd he end up in such a state? Lin Che sat there, looking pleased with himself. Hee, lay down your arms and surrender. Gu Jingze's eyes lit up. Taking advantage of the moment when she was pleased with herself, he grabbed her armpits with both hands and lifted her up. If it were someone else, he probably wouldn't be able to lift her up. But Gu Jingze was too strong and lifted Lin Che up. Oh, what are you doing? Lin Che cried. Gu Jingze said, Let's go. I'll take you to wash up first. You're so annoying. I can walk by myself. Shouldn't you let others help you without doing anything? He said. Lin Che raised his eyebrows and looked at him. So you like this kind of cross-dressing game? Hee, you really have a strong taste. Gu Jingze said, Yeah, I don't have a strong taste. Why would I like you? Lin Che felt like he was being scolded. You're so annoying. Why would you like me? You have a strong taste? How am I a strong taste? The two of them started fooling around inside, causing the servants who wanted to go in to stop. He said to the Gu family member who had followed them, Wait a minute. Our master just woke up. The person naturally heard the noise inside. Although it wasn't clear, He could tell that they were fooling around. If it wasn't for the fact that Gu Jingze rarely went out recently, he wouldn't have chased him here to deal with business. He didn't expect the two of them to be fooling around at home. This time, he waited for a while before Gu Jingze went out. Lin Che knew that Gu Jingze was busy, so she didn't bother him. She actually had something to do, but Gu Jingze had been staying at home and wouldn't let her go out. Now, she found a chance to go out. She first went to Chung Yuantu's place. This was the place provided by the company to the trainees, and each trainee had a room. Chung Yuantu was still recuperating. The injury on his face wasn't big after treatment, but no one cared about it at the time, and it was simply bandaged, causing him to be very weak. When he arrived in Country C, the company's doctors took good care of him, so he recovered even faster. Lin Che looked at him and said, "I can see that you're much better." He said, "They were just superficial wounds. Thank you for taking care of them." Lin Che said, "You can stay here peacefully. I'm here to ask you if you have any plans. Have you ever thought about doing anything in the past?" He said, "I don't have any dreams. I just want to make a living and survive." Lin Che said, "I can guarantee that you won't have a problem surviving, but if you have something you want to do, you can tell me." Chapter 1087. Lin Che looked at him. His skin was fair and tender, and he looked like a typical Asian. His phoenix eyes were very tall, and he wasn't very old either. Lin Che's eyes lit up as she said, "I wonder if you have any thoughts about being an artist." Chung Yuantu said, "Artist? I've never thought about it, nor have I come into contact with it." Lin Che continued to size him up, looking at him carefully. "Actually, you're very suitable in person. Your looks and aura aren't bad. To be chosen as the headline and be hated by all men, that was enough to prove his looks. However, there was a difference between being in person and being on camera. Even she herself would look different when she was on camera. So she was still thinking about him. "I think if you're interested, you can try auditions. Our company is also grooming artists. If you have potential, you can make a living. Of course, the prerequisite is that you're interested. This industry is not easy to work in, so I don't want to recruit anyone." Chung Yuan thought about it and said, "Of course I want to. Who hasn't dreamed of being a star since they were young? But the past feels so far away. If I can, I'm willing to try." Lin Che said, "Okay, I'll help you contact our staff later. You can go for the audition directly. If you're okay, they'll arrange for you to be a trainee." Chung Yuan looked at her gratefully. "Thank you." Lin Che smiled. "It's okay, but I have to tell you that trainees don't get paid. They eat and drink, but they don't get paid much. They only get paid if they get a job. Usually they work outside." "I can have a place to live and I can work outside," he said. Lin Che nodded. She hoped that he could be a hard-working person because she was such a person herself. She also liked colleagues who shared the same interests. After settling things here, she went out and heard people say that Shui Yang was injured on set. Chung Yuantu was still behind when he heard an assistant come over and say to Lin Che, "Shui Yang is on set." He fell down during the pressure. Lin Che asked quickly, "How is it now? Is it serious?" "I don't know yet. Albai has already gone over." Lin Che said, "Then let's go and take a look." Lin Che turned to Chung Yuantu and said, "You can go and take a look too. You can see what the filming site is like and what the artists are like. Maybe they can help you." Chung Yuantu nodded. "All right, I'll see if there's anything I can help with." The assistant on the side asked, "Is this our trainee?" Lin Che said, "Yeah, I'm considering it." The assistant chuckled and blushed. "It's the one I like." Lin Che smiled. "He hasn't had his audition yet. I hope his audition goes well, so that his path to stardom will be good." "No, we can actually fine-tune it," the assistant said. Lin Che knew that fine-tuning meant that if a real person had a good foundation and did not look good on camera, it would make a big difference with a little surgery. Lin Che replied, "We'll see when the time comes." She wasn't against it, but most of the artists in the company hadn't been fine-tuned. She was worried that it would be bad for the artists in the future. The assistant said, "But I think his face is so thin and small. I think he'll look good on camera. His legs are so long, too. From my professional point of view, a body with such proportions would look good on camera." Lin Che said, "I don't even know how Shui Yang is doing yet, but you're already smitten with him. This was Shui Yang's assistant, which was why she had come back to inform her. She smiled embarrassedly. I think Shui Yang should be fine. Don't worry, Sister Che. When they arrived, they saw that the news on set had already been leaked. Shui Yang was injured and hospitalized, and there were many fans waiting outside. They alighted from the car inside, seeing the noisy fans waiting for news outside. Some of them were already crying. Lin Che sighed and said, "Let's go in and see what caused him to fall." The assistant said, "It's all because of the idiots in the production team. They didn't take it seriously and thought that it would be fine. Who knew that something would go wrong this time?" When he was diving, he fell straight down. Luckily, his face wasn't broken. Otherwise, what would happen to Shui Yang? It was Chung Yuan-tu's first time coming to a place like this. Looking at the fans outside, he didn't think much of it when he watched it on television. Now that he saw it live, he was quite shocked. The little assistant went over. Anyone would be happy to join the fun with a handsome guy. "Hey, handsome, you just came, right? You can ask me if you don't understand." Chung Yuan said, "Is it always so dangerous to be an artist?" The little assistant said, "Of course, especially during filming. It's common to bump into things. No matter what the scene is, it's possible. After all, there are a lot of people on set, and some of the movements are bigger, so people might get hurt. Many guys get injured. Fighting scenes, and such can be filmed back and forth, and they might get bruises all over their bodies. Sigh, I thought being an artist was easy, but it's actually not. You don't get enough sleep, and you have to stay up late every day. Every day, you have to travel, you have to fly. Our company is considered good. The boss is humane and not greedy for money." Lin Che turned around. "Are you trying to scare away our trainees?" The little assistant heard this and hurriedly said, No, of course there are good ones. Just look at the fans outside and you'll know." Chung Yuan said, "What's not dangerous? What's not hard work? I'm not afraid of hard work." Lin Che smiled and said, "You're right. We're much better off than before. In the past, the production team had it even harder." Albai was with Shui Yang. Shui Yang looked very uncomfortable on the hospital bed. Seeing that Lin Che had arrived, he hurriedly got up and said, "Sister Che, why are you here?" Everyone knew that Lin Che was pregnant, so they usually wouldn't disturb Lin Che. They didn't expect that his foot injury would cause Lin Che to come over. Lin Che said, "It's nothing. I just happened to be at the company and came over to take a look. Hurry up and lie down. Don't move around." Albai's face was full of heartache. She pouted and said, "What kind of stupid production team is this? You could even fall down from a dive." Lin Che said, "How are you now? My ankle is slightly fractured. I can see the crack, but I don't think I need surgery. However, I still need to rest for a while." Albai sighed. Shui Yang said, "It's okay. I can get back to work as soon as possible." Lin Che said, No need. It's good that you can take the opportunity to rest. Don't be anxious. It's not like you can't support yourself now." Albai said, "Yeah, there's no schedule that you have to go. At most, you'll earn less money. It's not like you can't support yourself now." Shui Yang felt very guilty. He felt that he would have to compensate them a lot of money. Lin Che said, "You don't have to worry. No matter how much you lose, the production team will probably compensate you." Albai said, "We won't lose exposure. We can still hype this up for a while." Everyone chimed in, and Shui Yang felt much better. He looked at the two of them gratefully. "Luckily, you guys have money. Otherwise, doing business like this would really cause you to lose money." Chapter 1088. Lin Che smiled. "How could that be? Our company makes a lot of profits every year. You'd be shocked to death if I told you." Because the company had always been united and had a good relationship with people in the industry, there were people who would take care of their artists. Shui Yang looked at himself. "But I still hope to get back to work soon. It's too boring lying around like this." Albai said, "You still have to go back to work when your legs are better. Rest for the next few days and have a good sleep. If there's any work that you could do lying down, I'll let you know." Shui Yang was speechless. How can there be a job that can be done lying down? Lin Che and Albai walked out together. The doctors and nurses saw that it was Shui Yang, so they wanted to take photos. They all agreed, but they hoped that they wouldn't send the photos out. Doctors and nurses also had professional ethics. Generally speaking, they didn't dare to spread it out. Otherwise, the hospital would blame them if they spread it too much. Lin Che asked Abai from outside, "How is he now? Are you sure he's okay?" Abai said, "Don't worry. He's been in a good mood recently. He'll be fine. I'll watch over him." "Hey, who was the one who just came with him?" Lin Che said, "He's a trainee that I'm going to bring in." Lin Che didn't specifically say what he did in the past. Anyway, the past was the past, and she didn't intend to tell anyone about it. Abai said, "He looks pretty good. I hope I'll have a chance to debut." Lin Che said. Abai said, "You've always had a good eye. You'll make your debut and become famous." "Really?" Lin Che expressed his doubt. Abai said, "Look, didn't you discover Shui Yang first? In fact, all the artists that debuted in the company were basically making money. There weren't many artists in the company, but they were all developing well." He didn't know if it was good luck or if it was really as Abai said. They had a good eye. Abai said, "You can go back first. There have been a lot of reporters here recently. It wouldn't be good if you were photographed." Lin Che nodded. He remembered that he still had something to do, so he decided to check on Mu Fearon's preparations first. Watching Lin Che leave, Abai stood there and looked at Shui Yang. Shui Yang said, "I only fell down. I even troubled Sister Che to come over." Abai said, "If you really blame yourself, then rest well. Don't let people worry about you." As Abai watched, her phone rang. She looked at the number, and her face froze for a moment before she said, "I'm going out to take a call." Shui Yang leaned against the wall and nodded. When the nurses and doctors came in and saw Shui Yang, they all blushed and their hearts raced. Although there was some negative news about Shui Yang, everyone had forgotten about it after such a long time. Later, after the situation was reversed, there were still some people who turned to hate him. However, with so much news, they slowly turned to other places to hate Shui Yang. Shui Yang's popularity also slowly rose. Now, no one thought about the past scandals. After all, which artist didn't have scandals? Later on, no one brought it up again. Shui Yang was leaning against the wall, looking at his phone. Suddenly, he heard some movements coming from outside. It was Abai's cry. "Get out of the way, you guys get out of the way. Don't touch me." Shui Yang was stunned. Abai's voice was obviously angry and painful. Shui Yang jumped off the bed. The nurse doctor quickly said, "Hey, you can't move yet." However, Shui Yang didn't care about them and continued to run towards the sound. She limped out, and as soon as she went out, she saw a few people standing there facing Abai. He spoke in English, so some nurses and doctors didn't know what to do. Abai kept saying, "Get out of the way, I told you to get out of the way." Shui Yang hurriedly walked over. "Abai, what happened?" Abai turned around, a hint of uneasiness flashing in her eyes. "Nothing." It was obvious that something had happened. How could it be nothing? The people from the hospital also rushed over. The security guards surrounded these people and told them to get out. "Where did you come from? Get out, get out. Our hospital's inpatient department doesn't allow people to come in casually." There were still security measures here. Otherwise, they wouldn't have let Shui Yang stay in so casually. Normally, visitors had to get the patient's permission before they could come in. So when these people came up, the security guards immediately came out. However, these people didn't care about the security guard dissuasion at all and even pushed the security guards away. "Hey, who are these people?" The security guards went over angrily. "What are you doing to a girl?" Because they knew that the entertainment industry was quite chaotic, the security guards thought that they were here to cause trouble. "Hurry up and leave the hospital. This is a hospital. If you continue to cause trouble, we'll call the police." Unexpectedly, at this moment, a man suddenly said coldly, "Abai." Abai's entire body trembled. Behind him, a brown-haired foreign man stood tall. He was tall and thin and looked to be in his 50s, but he still looked attractive. Standing there, because he was very imposing, it wasn't hard for people to see him at a glance. Surprised, who was this man? However, when Shui Yang looked over, he suddenly thought of something. His eyes paused, and he said in his heart, "Mr. Wesley to Abai's father." Abai lowered her eyes and looked at the security guards who were stunned. She bit her lips and called out, "Dad." As expected, everyone was even more stunned. They saw the man wave his hand for everyone to retreat and walk over. Looking at Abai, he lowered his head and said, Abai, you have to be obedient and come home with me first. Tears welled up in Abai's eyes as she raised her head to look at Wesley. Dad, I want to stay in sea country. I don't want to go home. At this moment, everyone suddenly understood. Although many people didn't understand much English, they still understood some of it. Thinking back to the previous report on Abai, it wasn't hard to guess that this person was Mr. Wesley from the famous Wesley family, who was on the Forbes list of the world's richest people. Abigail Wesley's father. Shui Yong was still standing at the side, looking at Abai's father. He was in no position to speak, so he could only look at that man. Abai obviously knew that he would come, so she wasn't surprised. She just stubbornly said, I'm not going back. The man's gaze immediately fell on Shui Yang, who was behind him. That cold gaze sized up Shui Yang's body for a moment, and then he said to Abai, Did you stay here to serve this man? I'm the daughter of the Wesley family. I don't need to stay here to be a nanny. No, Dad, we're friends. This is my job. Abai said, You don't need to come out and do this kind of hard work, but this is what I like. Chapter 1089. Wesley said, Is it because you like the work here, or because you like the men here? This kind of man who needs to be taken care of by a woman. Is he still a man? You shouldn't be so short-sighted. Dad, how can you say that? Abai cried out. Wesley said, Why can't I say that? Come with me now. Wesley reached out to grab Abai. Abai pushed her father's hand away. I'm not leaving. At this moment, Shui Yong suddenly grabbed Abai's hand from behind. Abai paused for a moment, and then she was pulled behind Shui Yong. Shui Yong looked at the imposing brown-haired man in front of him. Abai said that she doesn't want to leave. Wesley looked at Shui Yong and snorted. It's you who has been stopping Abai here, isn't it? Shui Yong looked at Wesley. I stopped her. When did I stop her? It's Abai who wants to live her own life. You guys are the ones who stopped her. Wesley sneered at this bold young man. Let go of Abai. I won't let go. I can't let her be taken back and imprisoned by you again. Huh, he was really bold to say that. He snorted. Get this person away from me. A few people who had just retreated came forward and pulled Shui Yong up, wanted to take him away. No. Abai looked at the two of them walking over. She pushed Shui Yong away and wanted to make a move. Shui Yong was not someone who would be easily bullied. However, his foot was still injured at this time, and when he moved, his leg was in pain. Abai saw that there were so many people here. Shui Yong would definitely not be a match for these professional bodyguards. Moreover, Shui Yong was still injured, and it couldn't get any worse. Abai watched anxiously. Seeing that the bodyguard was about to kick Shui Yang's body, she rushed over and blocked Shui Yang's body. Dad, don't be like this. I'll go with you. Can't I go with you? Wesley stopped. Shui Yang looked at Abai. Abai turned back and smiled miserably. You take care of your injuries first. How could Shui Yang watch her go back like this? He held her hand and refused to let her go. Abai. Abai shook her head, bit her lower lip, and looked at him. Take care of yourself. She pushed Shui Yang's hand away forcefully and forced herself to turn her head away, never to look at Shui Yang again. Wesley looked back at Shui Yang and snorted coldly. He took Abai and walked out of the corridor. The people in the hospital were watching. Shui Yang couldn't say anything, so what could they say? He was just imagining in his heart that this was a father coming to look for his daughter. Was this Wesley's family against their daughter and Shui Yang? That was strange. Shui Yang was so handsome and a superstar. Why didn't he agree? But thinking about it carefully, Wesley's family was so rich that he wouldn't care about some unknown celebrity. Seeing that Shui Yang was still sitting on the ground, a nurse felt sorry for him. She took the opportunity to help Shui Yang up. These rich and powerful families were too outrageous, treating such a good boy so badly. Lin Shay had just arrived at Mu Firen's house. He talked to Mu Firen about the series of short plays that they were going to shoot. Several actors for the short play had been decided, and a few of them were suitable actors for the company. A few were still showing signs, and the script was almost done, but the director had not been decided yet. The director was also a big deal. A good director determined the rhythm of a TV series. But their problem was that good directors would not direct this kind of short play, and they didn't dare to use bad directors. When the directors heard Lin Shay's company call to talk about the problem with the short play, they immediately rejected it. They were not optimistic about their short play at all. Everything was difficult at the beginning, and they also knew that this matter was not easy to deal with. Mufirin said, "This matter has to be taken slowly. You don't have to worry about it. The most important thing is to rest." Lin Che said, "I can't stay idle either. Staying at home is the same." Mufirin said, "There are a lot of trivial things to do this. It's not like being an actor who only needs to act well. As a producer, you have to worry about a lot of miscellaneous things." "Yeah." Lin Che flipped through his contact list to see if there were any directors that he could try out. She first called a director who had directed one of her movies in the past. When the other party heard that it was Lin Che, he naturally picked up the call quickly. He was still chatting on the phone. He said, "Movie Queen, why did you disappear after receiving an award? I was going to ask if you're going to retire after your success and not come out to earn money anymore. Are you going to rest at home?" Lin Che said, "I just want to retire behind the scenes for a while." "That's a pity. I'm directing a movie recently. It's a big production, and I was just about to say that you're very suitable." "No," Lin Che said, "the director is so busy, so I'm afraid I can't trouble you with this matter." "Oh, what's the matter? You go first." They still had to give Lin Che some face. Lin Che then told them about the short play, but what he said was, "I was thinking that, director, you have students all over the world. If there are any suitable ones, could you introduce one or two to me?" He chuckled and said, "Actually, the director isn't that important for this kind of short play. I'll help you ask when I have time, but short plays aren't that popular now." Indeed, it was another one that was not optimistic about. Lin Che thanked him and didn't say anything more. Anyway, everyone had already predicted that their short play wouldn't be that good. As Lin Che flipped through the pages, she thought of Nan Gongyu instead. He definitely wouldn't do it. Why would such a prideful person film such a degrading short play? However, she still wanted to tease him, so she called him. Nan Gongyu picked up the call very quickly. "Movie Queen, you've been out for so long, but you still remember us." Lin Che said, "What's wrong now? Everyone calls me Movie Queen." "Yeah, you didn't come out after getting the Movie Queen title. Everyone's last impression of you is Movie Queen." "All right," Lin Che said. "Hey, there's a drama. Are you interested?" "What drama? You want to film a drama?" "Yeah." "You can film it now?" Sure, but I'm not going to act in it. I'm producing a drama. It's a short play, and the script is adapted from a web novel. I want to start filming it, but I'm lacking a director. I immediately thought of you, and I definitely have to give this opportunity to become famous to you." Nan Gongyu chuckled and said, "Did you think of me after looking all around and no one accepted it?" Lin Che was originally just teasing him. Hearing that he even knew about this, he chuckled. Unexpectedly, Nan Gongyu was silent for a moment before saying, "Send me the script. I don't have much to do recently anyway." "What? You want to join?" Okay. I'll send it to you." Chapter 1090. Don't be happy too early. I'm just telling you. Even so, Lin Che felt that Nan Gongyu was interested. Seeing this, Mu Firen asked, "Is Nan Gongyu interested in the movie?" Lin Che said, "I'm not sure yet. He only said that he wants to look at the script. I hope he'll be interested. If he's interested in the script, then he's interested. I didn't expect such a cold person like Nan Gongyu to be interested in this." Mu Firen raised her eyebrows and said, "I think he's interested because you're the one who filmed it." "That can't be. Why would he be interested because I filmed it?" "Because you're popular. You can get close to Nan Gongyu just by filming a movie." Lin Che said, "Really?" Mu Firen smiled. "It's also because you're powerful." From the beginning, Mu Firen felt that she treated people sincerely and was very interesting. Although she had always been very powerful, she was neither servile nor overbearing. It could be seen that she didn't really care about these forces, so people liked her more. At this moment, Dongzi came in and said, "Miss, Wesley's family has come to Country C." Wesley's family? Only then did Lin Che know that something had happened to Bai and Shuiyang. Lin Che immediately went to see Bai in the afternoon. When Wesley arrived in Country C, he rented a manor to live in. It was just at the edge of City B. He didn't buy it, but it cost $10 million to rent it. Wesley arranged for Bai to stay in a room inside. The outside was full of people. It could be seen that Wesley had brought a lot of people with him. Wesley had to welcome Lin Che. Outside, Wesley said, "Welcome, Mrs. Gu. I'm really sorry that I didn't greet Mrs. Gu first when I arrived in Country C." Lin Che said, "There's no need for that. Bai and I are good friends, and you're Bai's father. It's only right for you to visit her." "I can." At this moment, Bai ran out. "Lin Che, you're here." Bai looked at her father and said, "Let's go out and talk." Wesley's expression changed, as if he was going to call someone to stop them. Lin Che stood up and said, "Sir, I'm just going out with Bai. If you're worried, you can ask someone to follow us. We can't possibly kidnap your daughter here." Wesley looked at Lin Che and hesitated for a moment. However, this was Country C after all. They had to give Lin Che face. Wesley could only nod in agreement, thinking that the Gu family would not really take Bai away and not let him see her. It was unreasonable, and the Gu family was not in the right, so they would not be so reckless. He asked people to follow Bai and Lin Che out, and Lin Che went outside with Bai. The two of them drove together. They had nowhere else to go, so they sat down at a cafe in the mall and bought a cup of coffee. Bai said, "My dad has been wanting me to go back, but I haven't agreed. Now my dad has decided to let me go back, and he won't let me stay here easily anymore." Lin Che looked at the people following behind him. Because these tall and burly foreigners were following them all the way, many people would notice them. After all, these foreigners looked blonde and blue-eyed, tall and burly, very conspicuous. Everyone was still guessing what was going on here. Why was there a row of foreigners walking side by side in such an imposing manner? They wanted to come over, but didn't dare to, so they all looked around. This made people feel a little uncomfortable. Even though Lin Che was used to having people following him, he still felt a little strange. Perhaps it was because the people who usually followed him were only for protection, and they were indeed watching over him. Lin Che said, "Then what are your plans now?" Bai said, "Maybe I'll be treated like this when I go back." She looked back at those people with hatred. Lin Che said, "Then what should we do?" She felt that Bai was pitiful. A person who had never had freedom since she was young yearned for freedom. But now that she had tasted freedom, she felt even more pitiful. If she went back, how could she bear it? Others envied Bai, and Bai envied others. Others envied her for being born into a rich family like Wesley, and she also envied others for not being controlled from a young age. Lin Che thought that it was a good thing that even though Gu Shinian also lived in this kind of family, they gave him freedom. Even now, if he wanted to do anything on his own, as parents, they would only watch from behind and wouldn't control him too much. Not too much. There was a bottom line, and everything else was up to him. But Wesley's family probably didn't think that way. Lin Che said, "Then are you going back? Does Shui Yang know?" Bai thought of Shui Yang and was even more reluctant to part with him. "I don't want Shui Yang to get hurt. Also, there's no need for him to do anything because of me. After all, we're just friends." She lowered her head, and it became deeper and deeper. Just friends? Was it really just friends? Lin Che looked at her. Bai, this is not the time to be sentimental. Otherwise, the next time we meet, it might really be farewell. You have to think about what you want. Don't give yourself a chance to regret it." Bai looked at him. "Then, what should I do?" Lin Che shook his head and sighed. Now that Bai was being watched, she really couldn't do anything. Lin Che said, "Let's eat something first. When we're full, I'll go to the hospital to see how Shui Yang is doing." "Okay, let him rest well. Don't be impulsive because of me," Bai said hurriedly. Lin Che smiled. It was indeed very strange to be watched as he ate in this place. Because of the people following behind, the others in the restaurant didn't dare to come in. The people in the restaurant were probably also very depressed, but looking at these people, they didn't dare to say anything. They could only slowly wait for them to finish eating before quickly tidying up and preparing to welcome other guests. Lin Che watched Bai go back and went to the hospital himself. At Shui Yang's place, a lot of people were discussing. They didn't dare to let Shui Yang hear them, but they were discussing outside with strange expressions. Everyone was very curious about what would happen next. Since Wesley's family was so powerful, would they really not agree with the two of them? Would they really break up like this? When Lin Che arrived, he saw that the people outside had strange expressions. Then he looked inside and saw Shui Yang leaning there by himself, looking a little lonely. She looked at the people next to her, stood there to compose herself, and said to Dongzi in a voice that was neither loud nor soft, "See who is idle and talking about others. Write it down for me." Such a sentence made the people next to her immediately feel a chill in their hearts. Looking at Lin Che standing there, they quickly ran away to do their own things. Lin Che didn't come by himself. There was a group of people following behind him. They were afraid of him and naturally didn't dare to offend him. Lin Che went inside. Looking at Shui Yang, she helped him sit down. "No need to get up, Shui Yang. I know everything. I just want to see Abai." When Shui Yang heard Abai, he hurriedly asked, "How is she?" Lin Che said, "What can she do? If she goes back this time, she really won't come back again." Shui Yang's face was pale. Chapter 1091. Lin Che said, "I only have one question. Do you want her to go back?" "No, of course not." He shook his head mildly. Lin Che said, "Then go find her. No matter what they think of you, it's the worst if you don't do anything. You've done it, so it's better than not doing anything, right?" Shui Yang said, "But I can't get close to her now." Lin Che said, "If you want, I can send you there." Shui Yang nodded immediately and looked at her gratefully. "Thank you, Sister Che, for being willing to help me. You're all my friends. I'm helping you out of my own free will," Lin Che said. It was still at Wesley's house. Lin Che only asked Dongzi and the rest to follow Shui Yang to Wesley's house. Shui Yang looked at the place where Wesley lived. It was a shockingly large manor. It was filled with people. He could even see Wesley's luxury car. Although it had only been a few days since he came from abroad, it was still shipped over. Wesley was a person who valued enjoyment. No matter what was here, it was full of enjoyment. It wasn't hard to imagine how high Wesley's taste and appreciation were. After entering, Shui Yang looked around. The tall door looked magnificent. He stared at it and didn't say a word, until Wesley's voice came from behind. "How is this place? It's good, right?" Shui Yang turned around and saw Mr. Wesley walking over. He had a pipe in his hand. He took a puff and looked up. "I fell in love with this manor at first sight. Although you people in country like to live in the downtown area, so this place wasn't used after it was built and is only used as a holiday hotel, I'm different from them. I like to live in a quiet place, far away from the downtown area." He paced slowly, his leather shoes stepping on the polished marble floor. "The environment is good and it takes up a lot of space. There's a big lawn at the side and the decorations are all natural imported equipment. So, although it took 2 days to renovate and cost $20 million, I don't mind." Wesley looked at him. "I'm only planning to stay for a while, so I'm not planning to buy it. However, I can buy it for about $130 million. Shui Yang's eyebrows twitched. Wesley said, "If you want, this can be yours." Shui Yang's eyes darkened. "What does Mr. Wesley mean?" Wesley said, "Leave Abai, this is for you." Seriously, what a generous man. Shui Yang had never seen so much money before. How many people would be overjoyed to be able to throw out more than 100 million so easily? Shui Yang knew that Abai's family was very different, but he really didn't think that a rich family could be like this. Perhaps the money was just a number to them, so they could spend it however they wanted. However, for ordinary people, this was an astronomical figure. Shui Yang smiled and looked at Wesley. He knew that he and Abai were too far apart, and they might not be in the same world, but now, this feeling was really directly slapped in his face as a fact. It was personally slapped by Wesley. Shui Yang shook his head and looked at Wesley. "I know that Wesley's family is very rich. To the Wesley family, I might be as weak as a speck of dust, but I won't take anything from you. I just want to express my feelings for Abai. I struggle together with Abai and grow together. For so many years, she has been by my side, supporting me, helping me, and I've also watched her grow up bit by bit. We are already inseparable from each other. I hope that Mr. Wesley can give us a chance. I hope that you can see my feelings for her. I hope to be with her, and I don't want her to go back to America with you." Wesley laughed and looked at this naive young man. Wesley originally wanted to let him stay outside today and not let him in at all. However, he was brought in by the Goof family, so he thought about it and didn't refuse. It would be good to let him come in and see how different he was from Abai. He also wanted him to see how good Abai's life was, which he couldn't afford. By the way, if he was willing, Wesley really felt that these things could be given to him. Anyway, to Wesley, his daughter was more important. However, he didn't expect that he would refuse. Shui Yang's foot was still in a cast. He limped over and looked at Wesley resolutely. I like Abai. I hope you can know that I'm not here to ask for money. I'm here to confess to Abai. Too daring. Wesley narrowed his eyes at him. You're not worthy. Shui Yang said, my family background is not worthy, but my heart is definitely worthy of anyone. Shui Yang. At this moment, Abai broke free from the person inside and ran out. Looking at Shui Yang, her eyes were moist, and she ran over. Shui Yang looked at Abai and reached out to catch her hug. Wesley felt even more angry. How are you guys looking at me? Abai turned her head. Dad, I ran out. Abai looked at Shui Yang and couldn't stop smiling. As expected of the man she liked. He was so amazing. Abai said, Dad, which man do you think would think that I'm more important than 130 million? Can't you fulfill our wish? Wesley said, I'm doing this for your own good, Abai. Your environment is too different. Sooner or later, you won't like him. We're together every day now, and I don't hate him at all. How long is sooner or later? A lifetime? You. Shui Yang also looked at Wesley. Mr. Wesley, I hope you can fulfill our wish. Wesley looked at the two of them and felt even more furious. After panting for a long time, he snorted and said, All right, you stay here with Abai for a few days. Abai looked at him. Really, Dad? You agree? Wesley said, No, I want to have a good look at your life and see how different you two are. Abai's gaze fell, and she looked at Shui Yang with some heartache. He was such a big star in the eyes of everyone, but now he was being looked down upon like this. In the eyes of others, he must be a good husband, but in Wesley's eyes, he was nothing. Why? Was it just because Wesley's family was too rich? So what if it was money? Shui Yang said, All right, I'm willing, Abai. Abai looked at him with even more heartache. Shui Yang said, I also want to prove that no matter what, I can be with you. When Abai heard his words, she leaned into his arms even more happily. This was the first time she leaned into this man's arms as a man and a woman. Chapter 1092. Lin Che didn't go far. She was worried that something would happen to Shui Yang, so she let him go in and waited for him outside. After standing for a while, Dongzi came out and said that Wesley had asked Shui Yang to stay with Abai. Lin Che thought that this should be a good thing. It meant that they were given a chance, although she didn't know what it would bring them. She said, Then let's go back. When she turned around, she saw Gu Jingze behind her. Lin Che looked at him in surprise. Why are you here? Gu Jingze got out of the car and walked over with a lot of people behind him. You ran out on your own, so of course I had to come. Lin Che said, I brought a lot of people with me. It's not like anything will happen. Gu Jingze knew that nothing would happen, but he still wanted to see her with his own eyes. He knew that he might be too nervous, but when it came to her, he couldn't help but be nervous. Gu Jingze said, Wesley's family chose a good place. Lin Che nodded and said, But now that Shui Yang is staying, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Gu Jingze said, It all depends on their luck. Lin Che said, I thought that people abroad were very open-minded and wouldn't object. I didn't expect Wesley's family to be so old-fashioned. Gu Jingze said, Wesley's family isn't one of those new technology companies. Those rich people who rely on technology to get rich are more open-minded. Wesley's family is a family with 100 years of history. They developed from old Europe to America. They used to be the descendants of a noble family in Europe. They followed the first batch of people who went to America to make money, so their thinking is actually more old-fashioned than many people in country C. Then, isn't it terrible? Lin Che said. Gu Jingze said, So many socialites in America who come out to socialize, although they can play around casually. When they really want to find someone to marry, they will choose carefully. The conditions can't be bad, and they must also bring a certain amount of benefits to their family. They can't just marry casually. That seems to be true. Most of those who marry casually are newly rich or not necessarily from the top families, so they're more open-minded. But Wesley's family. Their family is so powerful. They must be the top. That's right. Lin Che looked at Gu Jingze. Like the Gu family, the oldest family in Country C, right? Gu Jingze looked at her. Yes. Lin Che shrugged. Although she didn't understand the Wesley family, looking at the Gu family, she already understood what it meant. Gu Jingze held her in his arms. All right, don't worry about other people's business. You're pregnant now. You should worry about yourself. Actually, what could Lin Che worry about? She had nothing to worry about when it came to the child. When he had his first child, he wanted to buy this and that, but it didn't work. Until now, there was no place to put all the things that he had collected every year. He could only donate them every year, and it seemed like it would take a long time. If it was a girl, he couldn't let her use Nian Yin stuff. If it was a boy, he could just let him use Nian Yin stuff. So this time, she didn't buy a lot of things. She just wanted to buy a little more. The rest was left to the housekeeper to worry about the baby's room and supplies. Lin Che said, "You don't have to accompany me every day. Just go and do your own things. I want to be with you." Gu Jingze said. Lin Che said, "But wouldn't the clan members think that I'm a demon concubine?" "What demon concubine?" "Those concubines who dominate the king and don't let him have morning court." Gu Jingze said, "You're not a concubine, and I'm not the king. There's no demon concubine." He stood still and combed Lin Che's hair. She looked at him and felt that he was very handsome when he did these little things to her. Gu Jingze said, "Besides, if they really want to say it, let them say it. I don't care." When he said he didn't care, he didn't mean it. The indifference on his face showed that he didn't care at all. Lin Che leaned against him and looked ahead. She said, "Let's go. I've never been here before." This was the suburbs. It was full of lawns and woods. It was very suitable for a walk. However, there were too many people behind them, which made her feel a little grand. Luckily, there weren't many people here. Otherwise, they would have to stare at them again. "Why did you bring so many people here?" Lin Che said. Usually, there would be people, but not so many. This time, it was obvious that Gu Jingze had brought a lot of people here. Gu Jingze said, "They are raised for use. If I don't use them now, when will I use them?" Lin Che said, "Then you don't have to bring so many people." Lin Che looked at him with a smile. She felt that he was really a little nervous this time. She felt that it was funny that so many people were walking around because she was pregnant. Gu Jingze looked behind him. He didn't think it was exaggerated, although there were quite a lot of people. It was probably a little more than the lineup he had brought abroad. When he went out, he ordered everyone who was free to come with him. He said, "Do you feel uncomfortable looking at them? I'll ask them to go further away." As he said this, Gu Jingze was about to go back to get them. Lin Che quickly pulled him back. He looked at him amusedly and said, all right. Don't bother them. Since they're here, just treat it as watching the scenery together." Everyone walked forward together. It was really like watching the scenery, but it was different from the other people who were watching the scenery. Lin Che said, "How's the family now? Have the Gu family's problems been solved?" Previously, it was revealed that old Master Gu was critically ill, which led to a chain of problems. The construction stopped, and the other families didn't dare to take action. Now that it had been so long, there seemed to be no movement. However, Gu Jingze still hadn't said what was going on. Today, when he saw the clan members go to the house to ask, Lin Che remembered these things. Gu Jingze said, "It's not quite possible for them to use such a simple method to destroy the Gu family. The Gu family's foundation isn't so easily shaken. This incident is just to cause chaos so that they can take the opportunity to kidnap the hostages, shake the president, and make the whole of Country C hate the Gu family." Lin Che thought that there was actually such a layer to it. Gu Jingze said, "The others are all choosing to wait and see. No one dares to get involved. It's also because in Country C, many people are hoping that something will happen to the Gu family and me." These families have been suppressed by the Gu family for many years, so they naturally hope that the powerful families in Country C can be completely wiped out and turned around so that they can have a chance to stand out. Unfortunately, the foundation that has not been shaken for so many years can't be shaken just because they hope for it. Lin Che felt that the Gu family's view was really very dangerous. So there were so many people waiting for the Gu family to die. It's lonely at the top. Lin Che only now slightly understood this feeling. Just then, Gu Jingzi said to her, "There's something else we need you to do at home." Chapter 1093. "Oh, what's the matter?" Lin Che asked curiously. Gu Jingzi said, "We're going to hold a 1-month banquet for Yu Minmin's child. Mother wants you to try." "No way. You want me to arrange it?" "Yes." Lin Che was a little worried. "But I've never done it before." "You've done it before in a company, let alone a 1-month banquet. Mother has sent a housekeeper, and the clan will probably send someone to help." It was conceivable that Mu Wanqing would send someone over. She was concerned about her, so she sent someone over. But what did it mean for the clan to send someone to help? It went without saying that they were either here to cause trouble or to watch over her. Lin Che said, "All right, since that's the case, I'll give it a try." Gu Jingzi hugged her. "You can ask me if you don't understand. If you arrange everything, it'll be very comprehensive, but what's the point of that for me? Don't worry, I'll do it myself and do my best." Lin Che didn't want to embarrass Gu Jingzi. If people found out that it was Gu Jingzi who helped her, they would only laugh at her for not knowing anything and for being a country girl. She didn't want that. Gu Jingzi said, "It's okay. You're pregnant now. No one will say anything if you ask me for some help. Forget it. It's just an arrangement. It's not like I'm going to do physical work. It has nothing to do with pregnancy. Don't worry. Although I'm usually lazy, I won't be that lazy if I really want to do something." She stood on her tiptoes and hooked her arms around his neck. He was too tall, so it was a little strenuous for her to do so. He smiled and wrapped his arms around her waist, helping her raise a little. That was more suitable. He kissed her on the lips before pulling her to continue forward. The two of them walked outside and saw that the forest looked very lush. They walked in and stepped on the leaves on the ground. Unknown wildflowers formed a wreath around the place. It was very beautiful. Lin Che felt that it was beautiful. She walked in and stood inside. Looking outside, she was filled with joy. "Wow, it's so beautiful." Gu Jingzi walked in as well. It looked very normal here. He didn't know why women like flowers so much. But when he saw the smile on Lin Che's face, which was even more luxuriant than the flowers, he didn't move. He just stood there and admired the beautiful scenery in front of him. However, when Lin Che raised his head, he saw that the security guards were still following them. Actually, it was a bit of a wet blanket. He followed her too closely and looked around cautiously, as if something would jump out from the bushes. It made people feel a little weird. How could Gu Jingzi not notice the look in her eyes? He looked up and waved at the people outside. Those people immediately obeyed the order and stayed far away, no longer following. Gu Jingzi walked over and stood next to her. He looked at her and asked, "Is it nice here?" Lin Che nodded vigorously. Of course it was beautiful. Gu Jingzi smiled as he looked at her childish face and said, "How old are you? You still act like you haven't grown up." Lin Che said, "It's just like how men love to play with small cars when they're young and love to play with big cars when they grow up. It's just that the toys are bigger." Gu Jingzi said, "I don't like cars." Lin Che said, "Then what did you play when you were young?" "Reading books, doing math, doing questions, making models." All right. Lin Che shook her head and said, "You're really living your old age ahead of time, and by so many years." Gu Jingzi's face darkened. "Do you think I'm bored? Do you have something to talk about?" "Great." Was she looking down on him? Lin Che turned back and smiled sweetly. Just as she was about to leave, Gu Jingzi pulled her into his arms. "Boo-hoo, what are you doing?" Lin Che stood there with him. When she looked outside, she couldn't see anything except for the man's chest in front of her. Lin Che looked up and giggled. She had a mischievous look on her face. "What? Gu Jingzi, you've been holding back all this time. Do you want to have a wild battle here?" Wild battle? Gu Jingzi was stunned for a moment before he understood what she meant. "Ha! This woman, he squinted at her. I think you want it, so you're reminding me on purpose. You're obviously leaning on me now, but you're holding on quite tightly. He looked down at her hands that were clutching his chest. Lin Shaye saw that she was just grabbing onto him unconsciously. How could she want to do anything? At this moment, she wanted to let go, but he grabbed her again. If you want it, just say it. Now you're trying to reject me? Gu Jingze raised his eyebrows. I'm not rejecting you. Gu Jingze looked at her little face, which was getting redder as she tried to defend herself. He bit her face first. She snorted, and his lips directly kissed hers. Gu Jingze said, "Let me hug you." He didn't need anything else. A hug was enough. He hugged her tightly and closed his eyes, enjoying the feeling of her soft body. Actually, it wasn't enough, but what else could he do? After hugging for a long time, they heard a young voice say, "Mom, there are two people hugging in the bushes over there." Lin Shaye was stunned and quickly pushed Gu Jingze away. She felt a chill on her chest. She looked down and saw that her clothes were a little messy. When the wind blew, she felt a chill. She exclaimed in her heart. She quickly turned around and straightened her clothes. Her face was bright red. She raised her head and looked outside. A woman who lived nearby was walking with her child. As she walked, she looked over curiously. When she saw that it was indeed two people, she quickly quickened her pace. She did not forget to call out to her child, don't look, hurry up and go." Oh my God, did they make a bad demonstration? The people outside thought that the two of them were doing something. Chapter 1094. Lin Shaye watched as he walked away, still looking back. She hit Gu Jingze's chest angrily. "You're so annoying. Someone saw us. We were misunderstood. What did they think we were doing?" Gu Jingze caught her fist with both hands. "What do they think we were doing? What do you think?" Lin Shaye blushed. Gu Jingze smiled at her. "Blame me? Then who was it just now? You opened your mouth the moment you touched me. Before I could do anything, you sucked my tongue in. Duh. Was that so?" Why couldn't she remember? But thinking about it, it had seemed so, because his mouth tasted so good that she wanted to kiss it and explore it. Was that her problem? Gu Jingze smiled and touched her cheek. "All right, it's someone we don't know. Let's go." Lin Shaye's face continued to turn red. Not someone she didn't know. And there was a child. But maybe it was because she hadn't touched a man for a long time. Why did her body heat up just now? She didn't even notice that her clothes were messed up. Lin Shaye's face heated up even more. She felt so embarrassed that do women also have this kind of desire? Or was it because she was a pervert? But the man beside her was too charming, and she could only look at him but not touch him. That was why she had accumulated so much resentment. When Lin Shaye returned home, Nangonyu called quickly. He said that he had read the script and was interested in it. Lin Shaye said happily, "Really? That's great. You have good taste. Let me know when it's ready to start." Sure. As she said that, she remembered Mu Firen's words. She said to him, "Sai, don't tell me you're forcing yourself to film it for me because of me?" Nangonyu said, "Of course not. Do you really think you're that important?" Why did that sound so wrong? Nangonyu continued, "But it has something to do with you. I think you're a lucky person. If I follow you, I'll definitely make a lot of money. Moreover, you're reliable and won't cheat me. That's why I think I can give it a try. I like to do unpopular things. Didn't they say that short plays are unpopular? I'll give it a try." Well, no matter what, she had a director now, and she did believe in Nangonyu. He was a serious person, and the things he made wouldn't be bad. Nangonyu indeed wanted to participate because he admired the Lin Shaye. Moreover, the Lin Shaye's personality was somewhat similar to his. When the time came, she would definitely give him a relaxed, creative environment. Even if she were to criticize him, it would be reasonable. Just like the last time they worked together, the two of them quarreled, but it made the movie even better. Therefore, Nangonyu felt that he could give it a try. Now that everything was ready, all that was left was to turn it on. Lin Shaye immediately sent someone to prepare it. He instructed his men to prepare to sign contracts with various parties, go through the legal process, and file an online short film. Someone from these companies would do it. She just needed to wait for the results. At the same time, she made a few calls to various people for help. It took her an entire morning to get everything done. After resting for a while in the afternoon, she heard from the servant that someone from the old mansion had arrived. The person came in and saw that it was an old man in his 40s. He said, "Madam asked me to help Madam. You can call me Butler Fu." "Okay, Butler Fu. There are many things that I don't understand. Thank you for coming to help me this time. Please take care of me during this period." "Io. Madam, you're too kind. This is what I should do." Behind them, the person from the clan arrived as well. This person said that he was here to help her with the purchases, but in fact, he was here to watch over her. Naturally, Lin Che's expression wasn't that good. Looking at the person who came, she smiled awkwardly and said, "Since you're here, stay here for now. If there's anything, just inform Butler Fu first, and then let me know." The person who came was a woman in her 40s. She was slightly plump, her face was very pale, and her legs were very thick. She didn't look like a kind person. She said, "Madam, whatever you say. I'm just here to help. You can call me Butler Chai." "Okay, Butler Chai." In the afternoon, the two followed Lin Che to choose a venue. Because it was Mr. President's full moon banquet, the venue was different from usual. After choosing a few places, Lin Che felt that they were either too luxurious or too ordinary. In the end, after thinking for a while, she thought of a place that they could go. It was the forest that they had gone to yesterday. There were many manors nearby. They could choose a place outside the manor. The manor would be a place to rest, and the outside would be a place to hold the banquet. It would be close to nature, and it wouldn't look too sloppy. They could only stay outside, and there wouldn't be a place to take care of the child. Butler Fu smiled and said, "Madam's idea is very comprehensive and unique. This is just right." Lin Che said, "I went there yesterday. The place is really beautiful. We can go and inspect it later." Lin Che raised his head and looked at Butler Chai. "What do you think, Butler Chai?" Butler Chai chuckled, "As long as Madam says it's good. I haven't been there, so I can't say for sure. But I think there will be no problem with Madam's choice." He said a bunch of nonsense. Lin Che didn't look at him again and went on to do other things. As for the people he wanted to invite, the clan members had to go. Some officials had to go too, and the people from the parliament naturally had to go too. Representatives from various countries would also go. Some foreign governments would also send people over. These were left to Country C's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It had nothing to do with them. Some clan members had to invite people to attend, and these had to go through a review. But Lin Che saw Qin Qing's family at a glance. Lin Che asked, "What's going on with the Qin family?" Butler Fu didn't know, but Butler Chai said, "Is this Miss Shue's fiancé? We have to give Miss Shue face." "Who is she? Why should he give her face?" Lin Che looked at Butler Chai. He felt that her words were meant for him. Smiling, Lin Che said, "This person can come, but this many can't." They gave 4 places at once. "This can't be done." Butler Chai looked innocent. "It's just a few places. Why can't it be done?" Lin Che asked him, "Do you think Miss Shue or 4th Miss is more important?" 4th Miss was Gu Jingyan. Was there a need to ask? Gu Jingyan was the legitimate 4th Miss of the Gu family. How could Xue Mingqi compare to her? Butler Chai said, "Then it's naturally 4th Mississippi." Lin Che said, 4th Miss only has 3 places. How can Miss Shue get 4? When 4th Miss smells it, how are you going to explain to her? Chapter 1095. The housekeeper Chai was speechless. Lin Che made the decision without looking at her. She said, "Only 2 places." Housekeeper Chai could only swallow her words. Housekeeper Chai secretly sent someone to report to the clan, saying that Lin Che had humiliated Xue Mingqi. Housekeeper Chai thought that she had done a good job, but she didn't know that as soon as she sent someone to report to the clan, Dongzi told her that Housekeeper Chai was reporting to the clan. Lin Che sneered and said, "Let her be arrogant for a few days. It's okay. We'll bear with it." Housekeeper Chai saw that Lin Che had come back and asked people to prepare dinner for her. She also asked servants to serve her food and drinks. She snickered inwardly and said to the people who came with her, "Look, she's scared. She humiliated me in front of Housekeeper Rich. I thought she was powerful. She's just afraid that we'll go back and complain, so she's trying to curry favor with us. Yeah, what does she know? What's the use of sucking up to her now? Humph. Of course it's useless. She wants to pretend to be powerful, but she also wants to maintain a good relationship with us. She's dreaming. Let's see how we deal with her this time. She's just a greenhorn. Humph. They thought that Lin Shay was acting weak because she had a guilty conscience and lacked confidence. Lin Shay was indeed lacking confidence, but she wasn't lacking confidence because she was afraid. She just didn't know if she was doing the right thing. But she was the kind of person who would do it no matter what it was. It didn't matter what the result was. Even if the sky fell down, there would be someone taller to hold it up. If she did her best, Gu Jingzi wouldn't blame her. The next day, they went to the venue to have a look. They found someone to book the manor. They heard that it was for the president's 1-month birthday party. The owner of the manor wanted to say that they didn't need money, but Lin Shay said that they had to pay. Since it was related to the president, they couldn't take any more money from others, lest Gu Jingming would criticize them in the future. The atmosphere was indeed very good. Butler Rich praised Lin Shay repeatedly. Madam, you have a very unique vision and unique way of thinking. This place is really good. Housekeeper Chai only snorted coldly. She felt that Housekeeper Rich was really snobbish, always going along with Lin Shay's words. But she was disdainful. After yesterday, she felt that Lin Shay was only strong on the surface, but deep down, she was still a little girl. Subconsciously, she was not afraid of her. She said, I think it's a little childish. After all, he's the young master of the Gu family. Butler Fu said, Butler Chai, you're wrong. He's the young master of the Gu family and the president of Sea Country. Since the car accident just happened and the whole country hasn't recovered from it yet, it's not good to make a big fuss about it. You can say that this place is close to nature and invites everyone to gather together. If it's too grand, people will say that it's not Mr. President style. Butler Chai said, I'm a straightforward person and it doesn't sound nice. That's why I questioned you. I feel that since the clan sent us here to help, we should do our best and say what we need to say. I hope Madam won't think that I'm being too talkative. Lin Shay looked at her with a smile. Why would I? If you have something to say, say it. I won't think that you're being too talkative. Hearing Lin Shay's words and seeing that Lin Shay was so easy to talk to, Butler Chai was even more certain that she didn't dare to offend the clan. On the way back, Butler Chai told the others that Lin Shay's place was really not good enough. Not only did they choose a shabby place, but they also listened to Butler Fu's flattery. They didn't care about her advice at all. In short, this place was not good. When Lin Shay returned with Butler Fu, she asked, Where's Butler Chai's family? The servant said, She said that she was going to the backyard to rest. Madam, if you're looking for her, I'll go look for her immediately. No need. Lin Shay stretched out her hand and said, I'll go and take a look. She brought the servants with her. Before they reached the backyard, they heard loud voices from outside. After all, she comes from a small family, so the things she chooses are also small. That place is so shabby, but she thinks it's special. To us, it's just a wild place. Does she think that she's found some paradise? That's right, that's right. And she doesn't listen to me even if I say it. I'm a straightforward person, so I said it directly. But it's useless. If she really embarrasses the Gu family, I can't do anything about it. Forget it. It's not you who will embarrass the Gu family. It's her who will embarrass us. That's why I said that Miss Shui knows everything. This matter should be handled by Miss Shui. But Madam insisted on giving her this opportunity. What a joke. At this moment, if you think that I'm not good enough, you can talk to the clan. But don't you think that you're looking down on me behind my back in my own home? The sudden voice made Steward Chai jump in fright. She turned around and saw Lin Shay walking over. Her face froze. However, looking at Lin Shay, she rolled her eyes. She didn't think much of it. Lin Shay was so timid. He wouldn't cause trouble at this time. Butler Chai chuckled. Madam, I didn't mean anything else. I just said, you're just looking down on me. Then I won't keep you. Go back to the clan. I don't need your help anymore. What? Butler Chai thought. Was he chasing her away? If she was chased out by Lin Shay, it would be so embarrassing. When she returned to the clan, she would be scolded to death. Madam, if you're angry, I apologize. But it's almost time for the banquet. There's no need. I won't keep a butler who has a problem with me. Moreover, this is my home. I don't want to see someone I don't like in my home. So please leave. Butler Chai's face darkened. Madam, if you chase me away like this, aren't you afraid that you won't be able to explain to the clan? Lin Che smiled. I don't think I need to explain to anyone if I chase someone away from my home. Butler Chai still didn't believe that she would dare to do this. How could she dare to go against the clan so openly? But seeing that Butler Chai didn't move, Lin Che sneered. He said to Dongzi, "Get rid of the person I don't like." What? Dongzi walked forward, ignoring Butler Chai's angry face. He led his men and pushed Butler Chai out. Madam, I was wrong. I shouldn't have said bad things about you behind your back. Butler Chai naturally didn't want to be chased away. But it was too late. Lin Che had already waved his hand. They didn't need to give face to anyone. Thus, Butler Chai was thrown out of the door. Dongzi and the others taunted her outside. Go far away. Don't you know where you are? This is the Gu residence. Butler Chai was thrown outside. He scolded angrily, I will definitely tell the clan that you hit me. It's the same as slapping the clan's face. Dongzi snorted and looked at Butler Chai. Our miss doesn't need to care about who she wants to hit. Chapter 1096. Butler Chai was indignant. But when he saw Dongzi and the others standing in front of him, he didn't dare to say anything and ran away quickly. Butler Chai went home and complained to his relatives. He scolded Lin Che, saying that Lin Che didn't give them any face by chasing them away. He even went to Gu Jing's place to reason with him. Gu Jing's snorted coldly and asked, did she really say that? The relatives didn't know what he was talking about. Gu Jing's said, someone heard it clearly. She did say bad things about my wife and my house. She said bad things about my wife and my wife. Now that she was kicked out, you said that we didn't show you any respect. Does it mean that we should let her do whatever she wants in the Gu family? That would be showing you respect, wouldn't it? The relatives were speechless. Who knew that Butler Chai had said bad things about Lin Che? Butler Chai was sent away just like that. The relatives couldn't say anything, but they felt that something was wrong. Why would Butler Chai say those things so easily? Housekeeper Chai was also an old member of the clan. The clan wanted to show Lin Che their strength, so they sent someone over. However, they didn't expect that they would be chased away by Lin Che. Even if they were chased away, they wouldn't be able to say anything. They then called Steward Chai over to ask. Only then did they know that Steward Chai had deliberately said a lot of bad things about her because she was weak. He wanted to show his power to her and let everyone know that she really did not dare to do anything. The relatives thought for a while and then realized that they had been tricked by Lin Che. She had pretended to be weak and made Butler Chai think that she was timid. But in fact, she had planned to make Butler Chai fat and then send him back. They didn't expect that Lin Che, who looked like a little kitten, was actually so cunning. At home, Butler Chai helped with some simple preparations. Soon, it was time for the banquet. Lin Che leaned against the chair, feeling a little tired. She felt tired easily recently. She knew that her tummy was growing too fast. That was why she got tired so easily, because the child had taken away all the nutrients. Butler Chai looked at the things prepared and said to Lin Che, Madam, you can have a good rest after this. Everything is almost ready. Lin Che said, I'll be tired during the 1-month banquet, and I don't know how the preparations are. I should show them to Gu Jingza. Butler Chai said, Madam, you did a good job. Sir will be satisfied. Lin Che looked at Butler Chai with uncertainty. Really? Am I good enough? Butler Rich said, Of course, Madam is very talented. Madam was worried that you wouldn't be able to adapt to it, but as long as you work hard, you will definitely do well. Madam Chai, I am not. I am, Madam has. Butler Rich replied, I didn't. I really admire you, Madam. Your ideas are unique and thorough. To be honest, I was a little worried at first, so I was prepared to help you clean up the mess. I didn't expect that you wouldn't even need me to clean up the mess. You just need to follow your ideas. Chai. Lin Che was happy when she heard that. She felt that she wasn't so useless after all. She thought that maybe she had been with Gu Jingza for a long time. Although she didn't care much about his business, She was influenced by him. She remembered some things he talked about when he was free. Soon, it was the day of the 1-month banquet. Lin Shay tidied herself up and listened to the people outside talking about the progress. Today was destined to be a busy day. It was also the day to check the results of the work. Lin Shay was wearing a dress. She felt that her belly was too big. She stood there and looked at it for a long time. Not a single dress could cover it. She sighed. She didn't want to be so obvious today. She didn't go out much recently. She felt that her belly was too obvious, and it wouldn't be good if it was taken away. As she stood there and sighed, Gu Jingzi took a coat and put it on her. "Why are you standing there?" He looked at Lin Shay in the mirror and asked. Lin Shay said, "My belly is big." "Of course. It's been 5 months." Lin Shay turned back. "It's so big. Isn't it ugly?" Gu Jingzi pinched her face. "It's beautiful." Lin Shay pouted. "You're teasing me." Gu Jingzi said, "Why would I tease you? It's really beautiful." Lin Shay said, "Really?" Gu Jingzi pressed his forehead against hers. "Of course." Lin Shay thought for a moment and said, "But maybe beauty is in the eye of the beholder. You won't think it's ugly no matter what I do because you're used to it." Gu Jingzi said, "Why? Who else do you want to show it to?" She thought about it and agreed. But who didn't want to be beautiful? Seeing that she seemed to be in a bad mood, Gu Jingzi hugged her and let her sit on his lap. He said, "Silly, you're really beautiful. People will be jealous of you if you go out. Other people become ugly when they get pregnant, but you become beautiful. Is that so?" Lin Shay touched her face. "Yes, my skin is so soft. It feels like my face every year." "Really?" She touched her face to see if there were any changes. Maybe it was because she looked at it every day and was so busy that she didn't notice it. Lin Shay touched it and said, "But I heard that if you're pregnant with a girl, your skin will become better. Is that so?" He touched her belly. He didn't dare to use too much force as he felt that it would burst. Was it a boy or a girl inside? They didn't know yet and didn't ask specifically. Gu Jingzi said, "Next time, we can let people see if it's a boy or a girl." Lin Shay said, "Forget it. Let's wait for it to be born. It'll be a surprise." Whatever you say, he actually didn't mind. Although he was indeed curious, a little surprise was also good. The two of them were ready to go out. Lin Shay didn't care about her belly anymore and drove to the manor with Gu Jingzi. The manor was well prepared. The lawn outside was green, and the welcoming staff gave gifts to every guest. After entering, the white and pink costumes made the place look like an amusement park. Because it was originally a 1-month celebration, it was naturally carried out in such a relaxed atmosphere. The main character was the child, so everything was pink and tender. The white lingered around the pink, adding a touch of elegance to the venue. It didn't look childish, but elegant and generous with a touch of warmth. It made people feel that the decorations were perfect. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.